Welcome, everybody, to the Red Leaf Retrocast. It's episode 77, if you've noticed the title, Part 1. And Part 1 is titled All-Star Dream Revolution. This was originally going to be kind of our usual get a guest on for maybe a show or two, and then kind of transition into the regular podcast. It was a very historical and monumental turn of events between Stardom running the biggest Joshi wrestling show over the last couple decades and what happened at AEW Revolution, whether it's the events that ended the show and a lot of the events over the last couple weeks for AEW. So on this episode, got the guest Tyler Fudge from the Fudderation. You will hear another intro, a little short little one, as we go into it. So it went a little long, much longer than intended, but it was filled with a lot of data, filled with a lot of takes, and filled with a lot of fun. And I hope it brings a lot of perspective. It was a blast talking to Tyler. I highly encourage everyone to go check out the Fudderation if you like fun. If you don't like fun, then maybe the podcast isn't for you. But if you are listening now, definitely go check him out. This is part 1. It's only going to cover AEW, and then it will transition into Stardom over their monumental historical show over there. And then on our usual 2-week episode bi-weekly release, you will get the remainder of what we will record for our usual 7 other promotions and the retro stuff. So, or 6 other promotions in this case. There won't be any less content, and yet there's still another Dynamite to come, so there will even be AEW on the next episode. I hope you guys enjoy part 1 of episode 77, and don't forget to sign up to the Patreon to help support us and listen to a lot of our other content out there. My Starcade reviews, K's JD Star reviews, Wrestler Rankings audio, and more, and of course, all of the Joshi historical content. Part 1, here we go. And now that the cold intro is over, we are joined from Tyler Fudge. We are joined by Tyler Fudge from the Fudderation. How you doing?
My name is Fudderation from Tyler Fudge.
Fudderation from Tyler Fudge. Yeah, exactly, right? And Suplex City
Nailed
Limits.
it.
Nailed it. Intro.
Don't worry, man. Intros are the worst thing in the world. It's the hardest thing to get used to. I've done what, 200 and some odd episodes of Federation. I've never nailed a intro, so
well, it's even better because you're on here.
Episodes. I can't do it.
Intros are hard. They're hard, man. I get it. But hey, my name is Tyler Fudge. I'm from the Federation. Also, Suplex City Limits. 2 podcasts. Yeah, I know. I got nothing else better to do with my time. I know. Whatever.
Well, I mean, you live in Upper Alberta, Canada.
Exactly. What else am I going to do? I got to stay inside and stay warm anyways, right? Like, so.
Smart strategy.
There you go. So I love the humor. I love the fun you guys have over at the Federation and Suplex City Limits. And I love how you guys generally keep your opinions in good flavor. I do respect the work you guys do. You don't stay within this super hipster mindset. I love you guys. I'm so glad to have you on.
I'm super stoked to be on, man. Like this is one of the podcasts where people all the time that do podcasts. I mean, if you do a podcast, you know people that do them, right? So you always got to be nice because you can't just be like, man, your podcast fucking sucks, right? Or like, do you want to come on? It's like, not really, but I can't tell them that. I was like, you know what, man? I want to learn more about Joshi, and what better place to do it? What better place to do it? So
thank you.
You might, anytime. You might find like me asking like these really stupid questions or like stupid to Joshi fans throughout the show, and questions that have answers that should be known by any Joshi fan. Well, you're probably going to hear them from me. So
Well,
There's no
you
dumb
should.
question. There's no dumb question. As somebody
Exactly.
who was new at one point and asked these questions, there's really no dumb question. There's some obvious dumb question, like what's a heel and a baby face?
Yes, yes.
And, there's outside of those very obvious ones, there's no dumb questions.
Thank you.
yeah, I mean, for example, we just I dove right into All Japan Women, very cold, didn't know a lot of the wrestlers, and there's nothing more fun than learning new things and learning new styles in terms of wrestling. So I'm so glad that we got you on for what turns out to be this episode of all things, mixture. We're not going by the usual format here. There's just two super important shows, AEW Revolution, dear God, and Stardom's biggest Joshi show in the past, 2 decades, basically.
Yeah, 2 decades.
This is incredible.
Stupid question number 1. This was their 10th anniversary, right? Their 10th
Correct.
anniversary show?
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't know, because, it's Japanese wrestling, right? The names are very wacky and weird. Right, so All-Star Dream Cinderella, to me that means fuck all. That's nothing to me, right? All-Star Dream Cinderella. So I was I think this is the 10th anniversary, but I don't know if that's a decal that's always in the corner of Stardom with the 10, over the last year. So I had to ask.
So this show in particular wasn't technically the 10th anniversary. They did have a 10th anniversary show in January, but this year they're celebrating their 10th anniversary. So that's what the 10 all over the place is, whether their track jackets have the gold 10 on it over the Stardom logo. It's sort of a theme they're going to run throughout the year. But yeah, no, their 10th anniversary was in January.
Yeah,
Okay.
They did have a show for it, too.
You'll likely see a similar thing probably next year with New Japan celebrating 50.
Yeah, you're right. Hopefully New Japan's much better that year.
Yeah.
Who knows? Let's see.
So it's great to have you on, getting the perspective of a potential new, fresh fan with an open mind over Stardom Budokan. I think it's a good opportunity to gauge these new perspectives and how far Joshi Wrestling has come. So without further ado, we are not waiting for the Joshi section, the women's wrestling section of the podcast. We're going to do AEW and then jump right into Stardom because our boy Tyler Fudge is here. So happy. But let's start with AEW. I started out playing Eddie Kingston music. This poor guy.
You know why he's playing it. Everyone should know why at this point.
This poor guy.
Yeah.
So before we get into a lot of the numerous topics I have laid out, I had quite the week on the Twitter, if you haven't seen. So just about every week I brought it back. I have minutes of in-ring wrestling that I like posting out every Thursday. And not much has changed since the inception of AEW. Nor many of the other promotions. There was a small segment last summer with Raw where they'd have only about 30 minutes of in-ring wrestling on a 3-hour show. And
that's torture.
It tell me about it. It's the Bruce Pritchard era. So just a little perspective. I went through kind of all the Western promotions here, and then I made a joking Evil Okan in-ring wrestling of the same week. So SmackDown, 2-hour show, 32 minutes in-ring. This all includes commercials. So we know the WWE formula and Impact formula where they like going through having matches go through sometimes multiple commercials, while AEW has picture-in-picture, but this does include wrestling that's during that time. So SmackDown is 32. Go on.
So you're counting the commercial in the time of the match.
Correct.
Is that what you're saying? Okay. Now, and I just want to jump in and say this, and it's not like this is some new thing either that 2-hour WWE television does 30 minutes of wrestling. I remember, and this popped in my head. You just sprouted that seed there. I was watching Hollywood Squares as a kid, and one of the questions was how many minutes of wrestling on average is on a WWE programming show, and it was 30 minutes. Right?
Incredible.
So this was back when I was 12. I'm 33 now, so that was 21 years ago. Right? So nothing has changed. Nothing.
And that's kind of the problem with being stuck in a formula, right?
Exactly.
Raw has 55, and that's kind of been their way since they came out of the summer. NXT 47, also an average. AEW 57, also an average, and Impact 48, more or less their average. Evil had 36. Okan had 38. Just for funsies.
Did you say Impact? What's an Impact? Because I don't
that
think
is a
anybody
good
watches
question that I
wrestling.
can't answer for you.
Nobody watches wrestling on Tuesdays. I thought that was a known fact.
Well, definitely not this guy. That's for sure.
So I
Definitely not
always like putting out little facts like that. Another fact that's out there is I was listening to WrestleNomics, a podcast I highly recommend if you want to learn about more of the business side of wrestling and its importance, such as why ratings are indeed important to a wrestling promotion. The fact I have to constantly say this, people that think YouTube numbers mean jack shit in this world, it's just a gauge of something that's popular or that went viral. It has nothing to do with actually turning dollars to donuts, if you will.
You're telling me my
YouTube.
Twitter numbers aren't good? Don't make the monies my Twitter numbers?
No. I mean, the best example of this is TNA for many years. They would have X amount of people viewing their television show, but they never got over like 30,000 pay-per-view buys, which is pathetic.
And let's hard that number. It was roughly around 1.1, right? In the glory days of TNA, when they got the Spike and they got their footing on Spike, they barely did. You know what I mean? Like they didn't do a huge amount of numbers. It's still like 1.1. You'd think you'd get more than 10 to 30,000 pay-per-view buys out of it. It's a very poor conversion ratio.
Yes, and
TNA
especially
sounds like a sex object.
Especially of the time when television was a very much different set of real estate out there compared to nowadays, where AEW's 900,000 may on the surface seem like a bad number comparatively to the past, but when you look at it through the eyes of television overall, it is incredibly valuable for a network to have that sort of 52 weeks viewership, okay? And on WrestleNomics, he put out the statistic that television viewership overall is down almost 30% since the pandemic started, while AEW has kind of remained in a flat line, which is remarkable, and to an extent SmackDown has as well, while Raw is down 25%, and NXT is down 30%, give or take. So that kind of gives a little perspective on just the television statistics there going down. So go ahead, Kay.
Real quick, when you mentioned the in-ring minutes,
Okay.
something popped to me as well on that. So when I watch AEW, it doesn't feel like the wrestling is longer. It feels like the kind of show moves at a good pace, and I can't tell how long the in-ring is. But I remember the last time I was watching Raw, which, that was a longer time ago than when I got back into it the last time. I remember sitting through a 3-hour Raw, and it dragged. Like, I went and I got a sandwich. I went to McDonald's, I think. No, I think I drove to McDonald's, like right around the corner of my old place. And I came back, and there was still nothing but segments and commercials, and I just turned the TV off. I remember distinctly doing that. I think it was the last time I had watched Raw.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I know mine was October 2018.
Oh, awfully
Yeah.
specific date.
Yeah, it was the day that they did the P joke with what's his nuts?
Drake Maverick.
FTR.
Poor
Drake Maverick
Mr.
and
Spud.
FTR. Yeah. That was the last day. I was like, I'm done. I can't do this no more. And I've watched like a pay-per-view, not like in pieces, not a full one. That's about it. Yeah.
So I put out I got so sick of I went on a binge of listening to just a plethora of podcasts. Fans, I got out of the journalism section of the podcast that I prioritize because they are top of the industry. They have the most listeners. Kind of gauge what people are wanting to do. I sometimes listen to Conan's podcast, whether I should to or not, but there's a lot of, I'm calling them stopwatch couch activists in Western women's wrestling. So I put together just some basic stats over AEW, Raw, SmackDown, Impact, and the fucking fallout from this tweet was incredible. So I got, this is just a perspective tweet, okay? And we've been talking on this podcast for a little while how important optics are. And boy, do optics play into two vastly different shows between AEW and Stardom. So AEW averages, this is for their women's matches on television. So this does not include YouTube or the women's tournament that took place on Bleacher Report or YouTube. AEW has one women's match per show on average. This is 2021. Almost 10 and a half minutes on average for a women's match. So they give them a good amount of time when they do have one, okay? 10 minutes is a pretty average wrestling time frame match that isn't a main event. SmackDown, 5.4, also one match. Raw, 6.68, 1.5 matches.
wait, what garners a half
match?
What garners a half match?
So some weeks would have one, some weeks would have two.
Oh, it's an average. Okay.
Yes, it's an average marker. And Impact would have 8.8 minutes with 1.25 matches. So this idea, and I'm not saying that just having one women's match is fine. I do believe that I just want to watch good wrestling, whether they're men or women. I don't think that's an outrageous statement to make.
No, it's the same one I have. It's if it's shit women's wrestling, I don't want to see it. So don't put it on the TV. And if you can only do shit women's wrestling, then don't do women's wrestling. But if it's good wrestling, it shouldn't matter what the gender is.
Right. So
I agree.
And we have not been kind on Western women's wrestling in particular. We are very much fans of the Japanese women's wrestling style and think it's better. And Western women tend to kind of act like they're in quicksand half the time, and they are getting better, but the development, much like in Japan, has been stunted over the past 2 decades. Whether it was numerous amounts of facts we've talked about on this podcast. So I thought those stats were very interesting. And this fucking tweet blew the fuck up with people all butthurt over simple data. It went full Brian Alvarez, and it was incredible. So people got so upset that, oh, you didn't put NXT there because obviously it would have been better. Well, the next morning I calculated NXT USA 7.14, 1.87 matches.
So you got ratioed, is what you're saying.
I did get ratioed, and then as soon as I put that tweet out, everyone shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Right. It's funny that you made the comparison to the two scenes, both the one in Japan and the one in the States. I'd say they're held back for different reasons. The one in the US was held back because, well, wrestling became, the standard was tits and ass, not the wrestling. Whereas Japan, the style never devolved or changed, but the scene was repressed by, well, old people.
Yes. All right. So that's just kind of some stats that I wanted to throw out there, just to give some perspective on things. And also a reminder to all the people out there that Twitter and Reddit, along with your little inner circles, make up such a small contingent. It's a dangerous path to get caught up in. It does not represent what a large majority would say. Just kind of a reminder.
Leave your hug box. Leave your hug box and get an actual opinion out there.
Right.
Yeah. Twitter's a cesspool. It's like Facebook. It's no different.
All right, so we've reached the point now that we get to talk about a show that will live in infamy for AEW. Despair. I had a gimmick last night. I had just beat Danganronpa, so despair was through my mind. And I put out a tweet that said, I predict the ultimate despair for Moxley in the exploding barbed wire death match. Little did I know.
Fuck.
I had no
That's
idea
great.
there was going to be so much despair. So, we got to talk about this fucking bomb dud. We have to.
Oh, we have to address the elephant in the room. You just can't just ignore it. It's there, and it's got a phony pyro.
It's been staring at me this whole time. It's been pretty awkward. So yeah, we might as well.
Yeah. I wanted to leave, but it's just making me laugh at this point.
Yeah.
So I actually rewatched the whole match before recording the podcast here, and I don't know if you guys caught this, but JR, in his despair-filled voice on commentary, as Moxley was coming out with the full Onita getup, which was sick and awesome. Instead of a cigarette, he had a flask. He had the leather jacket. He was strutting and pouring water over. He was straight up Onita. He's such a dork. I love it. JR says, I talked to Terry Funk, and he said this match isn't going to end well for either guy. He feels sorry for them. Oh no.
Did he know?
He did say that. He did. Yeah. Oh wow. I never even thought about that. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, it's really, really funny. So, Mr. Tyler Fudge, what is your take on the grand finale that ended this? I thought it was a good, entertaining pay-per-view.
I thought the pay-per-view, hands down, was a fun pay-per-view. But with that being said, lasting impressions, you know what I mean? The last thing we seen was the ring, quote unquote, blowing up, and it was a dud, and it is what it is. It's a complete fuck up. It's pyro. It's so unpredictable. But at the same time, AEW they're not a full on, you know, teetering on. I'm trying to think of this now. This the phrase. Over. What is the phrase? Over deliver, under deliver.
Yes, that's what Brian Alvarez was touting today. Yes. You don't want to over promise and under deliver. You want to under promise and over deliver.
So so you're teetering on a fine line with this match on over delivering, you know, or under delivering, and it's one of those things where the match is a great match. You can't argue that. Fantastic match, but it will forever be known for the shit that it ended with.
So I was listening to all these podcasts, journalists and fans and the like. Even podcasts that I feel I just don't like their opinions in general. I was really trying to gauge how people felt about it. And as opposed to, say, Kevin Nash missing a pool of blood on Thunder.
Which is hilarious.
It's the wall.
Also hilarious.
The fucking milk truck, which... You know, it's an iconic moment, as dumb as it sounds, because it's Kurt Angle with milk. He just looks like he's coming all over everybody. But anyways, the general feel I got from what everyone said is, a lot of people say, there are going to be the haters out there, no doubt. And I found this interesting. Everyone was so sympathetic to what happened.
Yeah.
Everyone loved the match. Everyone loved the pay-per-view, or at least was entertained. You know, plus minus a match they didn't like here or there. That's, you know, that's fine. That's par for the course. But there was so much sympathy going around, and I was trying to think of another fuck up that was remotely like this. And honestly, I couldn't think of a single other reaction where the fan base felt bad for the guys involved. They just knew it was, man, it's just something that didn't work out. Get them next time. Let's see how the promoter and the company can pivot off a monumental disaster.
Right. So I just like the memes that came from this.
Oh yeah, they're fantastic. I love them.
The memes have been my day. All day today at work, I have been pulling up Twitter and laughing at the memes because they don't stop rolling, and I love it. I like the show, but I think Under Deliver is a good kind of maybe theme for some of the show, because I think they really, really hyped up who that legend was going to be. Now, granted, I didn't really care who it was going to be. I had jokes. I was going to have the almighty Gammy or Stone Cold Steve Austin. Being Christian Cage was like, okay, cool, I guess. But the way they hyped it up, I get why some people would be disappointed by it, because they really hyped that up. Like, oh yeah, it's one of his favorite wrestlers of all time. It's this big signee. It's this and third. I'm like, you guys are really hyping this up. Like, I don't know if you guys realize that Christian Cage isn't that big of a star.
Well, it goes into optics, and I truly believe optics are really hurting AEW right now, and it's a number of different aspects. Like, I genuinely enjoy the promotion, the wrestling on the show. I like most of the stories, a very good amount, but the optics are what's killing the momentum of this promotion reaching that next level. So I mean, you'll hear my takes as we go on. So I think we're at the point of AEW utilizing the Battle Royal stipulation too much, ladder matches for these number one contenders. This was more of an annual thing, like a Casino Royale at Double or Nothing. That would be one thing. But it seems we're getting these once a month instead of building better contenders. That's just one thing that popped into my head.
Did we get one at Full Gear as well?
Yes.
We get one every pay-per-view, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember thinking that when we had the battle, I was like, wait, I don't remember them announcing a Battle Royal. I guess I must have forgotten or missed it. And then I'm like, man, this kind of, like, it was not even just how familiar the sort of theme is, but some of the spots are kind of samey a little too at some of them. There's only so many high spots you can do before you start burning. I mean, just look at the Money in the Bank ladder match in TLC. Once you do something but so many times, eventually you'll go numb to all the cool spots.
Yeah, and I think like, as someone who loves a good battle royal and ladder match and something, you risk burnout. And I felt last night was definitely the tipping point of it for me.
Yeah, for the battle royal, you mean? Like a
for the battle royal and the ladder match.
Yeah.
Even though I enjoyed them, I was like, man, I think I would rather have a singles match or a three-way or something. Because the three-way we haven't really seen in AEW.
You don't see it very often, eh?
So that's just one example. Now, I wanted to get you guys' opinions or takes on something else that I was thinking about today. Last night, with all these matches that we saw, and I just watched Starrcade 1986 for the Patreon sign-up $5 tier, there was such a level of high-end storytelling, I swear, was straight out of these NWA Starrcade shows I've been watching. But so much is lost due to these poor optics. So, for example, Shida and Mizunami's 10-year journey thrown into a short 3 to 4 minute video package that was really good with promos from both women, but not on TV, right? Just a simple thing like that. Omega Moxley, Onita with the funk, like the whole match was Onita funk style, the Bullet Club interference with it all, Eddie Kingston, like shielding his...
that's straight out of Onita and Funk. That's completely... That whole thing, shielding thing is lifted from a match. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Right, it's amazing storytelling that's going on, but there's always something. There's always that one thing that just keeps it from going over the edge. Like, if that explosion went off the way it did, everybody would be raving about the match the next day. Raving about it. But instead, we're making memes, which is really, really sad. So what do you think about this? Because that wasn't the only match. There was a number of them on the show. Like, I thought the Bucks, MJF, Jericho match mirrored so much of that. Now, I'm not saying it's exactly like that. I'm not crazy now. Was the Minnesota Wrecking Crew against the Rock and Roll Express from Starrcade 86. It was just giving me so many similar vibes, match structure, and obviously there's a lot more high spots in modern wrestling. What do you guys think of this little take I got here?
And it makes sense, right? Like, but you're also watching this stuff side by side. Like, I didn't notice any of this because I have never watched any of this NWA, or I have not seen a single Onita death match outside of the ones on DDT. I haven't seen no Onita death matches, so I didn't get some of these spots.
Yes, the famous Onita Maki Ito teams.
Yes, the perfect teams. But much in the same way you say that they're mirroring stuff, I mean, we saw the same thing in the Stardom show, but I got those references, and so I got excited for those. Maybe it's just a matter of them not hitting the moments. Like, you're watching the matches and you recognize the spots, but maybe they're just not hitting them the right way, or it's just not hitting the right level or right spot for you. I know the tag match, the MJF Jericho Bucks match, I didn't really like that match. I didn't hate it, but it was definitely the weakest match on the entire card for me. I just was not feeling
really?
it.
I thought it was the best.
I like Ryu Mizunami and Shida, but that's very obvious. I got even without them telling me the video package, I already knew the story. But I love those two together, anyways. But I don't know if it's just the Young Bucks, but I'm kind of tired of seeing the rest of their matches because I see them every night on Dynamite. I feel
Fair
like
enough.
that might be it. They're overexposed to me. Like I see them enough wrestling that I don't pop for their spots. Well, like, obviously I pop for the Canadian Destroyer, but that's because I'm on mark for that move. But everything else, like the super kick parties, the BTE trigger, like the BTE trigger, like all their spots. I'm like, I see these every week though. They don't feel like they hit anymore. Kind of why I wanted them to drop the tag belts here. I feel like it'd be more fresh for the division because right now the tag division kind of feels a little stale.
I think that's a case of not building enough contenders, and we're doing these battle royals. Like if there were more people that were being lined up rather than what feels like a hot shot, like the ladder match, Scorpio Sky. Like we should be generally really excited for the guy getting his big Sonic ring.
Yes, I saw the memes for that too. It was great.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, oh yeah, with him going into the Sonic bonus world after grabbing the ring.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love it.
I love it. He has a TNT title match already this Wednesday on Dynamite against Darby Allin.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That feels rushed. Really rushed.
I didn't even know that's way too soon. You gotta build a program. I guess whatever.
Well, they didn't really build the
that.
contender. They didn't build the contender, so I guess they don't really need to build the program.
At least you could build the match then. I mean, that's kind of weird. Like, especially because isn't like the Scorpio Sky thing like building over time? It took him forever to get here that I almost forgot about the guy because I don't see him.
It's been building on Dark. That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a problem because if you're gonna put him on Dynamite, not everybody's watching Dark, so you kind of have to show him more on Dynamite if you're gonna do this kind of match, right? Am I out of the loop for that one?
I mean, all it takes is a 1 or 2 minute video package, and I think that there's only so much time on Dynamite. We all admit this, and they fit a tremendous amount into every show. And it's so tough to be able to justify what feels like is the most important aspects, and in a way I'm understanding, but as a fan it is kind of frustrating. So
I think they have too many stories going on.
No.
I mean, I forget some of them because it feels like there's so many of them. Like the stuff with the spears, I forget about that every time until he shows up. I almost forgot about Scorpio Sky until I heard you guys talking about it while we were watching. I was like, oh yeah, right. He has a whole thing with Cody because I haven't seen him on TV in like months. It feels like.
Right, he had the torn meniscus. Yeah.
Oh, see, I didn't even know he was hurt.
Yeah.
So it's like I didn't know this whole story was happening. I completely forgot about it. Now he's getting a match. I'm like, cool. But I mean, I don't know how. I like Dino. I like AEW. Like I feel like I haven't had a chance to say that, but I did like this show, and I do like AEW. I think I've said that before, but the show was good. Stuff like that kind of makes me scratch my head a little bit.
Well, I mean, this is all optics we're talking about here. It has nothing to do with shitting on the wrestling going on, the booking, because I think that's all very solid. It's all in the optics. Now, I do think the contenders is a real problem that's really starting to set in with me as a fan. Tyler, what do you think here?
Yeah. I mean, when you look at just to touch on the whole Young Bucks thing, I agree with everything that you said. You look at them. I know I'm surely sick of the babyface Young Bucks. I don't believe them. I don't care for them. I have no sympathy for them. Like Matt kind of comes off like a prick most of the time, anyways. and Nick is the plainest looking motherfucker in the world. When you give him a mic, like you're just asking for doom. So like just turn them heels where they can just be dickheads again. You know what I mean? They almost did it. They flirted with it. I just feel that's probably the best way to go. Freshen them up a little bit. Have them lose the tag titles. You've got enough. Like they have had a problem building a contender for the tag titles and making another tag team feel like they deserve it. But they have a lot of good tag teams, so utilize them more. You know, it's one of the best tag team divisions in North America, maybe the world. It's definitely better than New Japan's. New Japan doesn't know how to do tag teams either. But
yeah, they don't even try.
no, they just given up. But I think you're right about the optics. You just got to find a way to have it be seen and figure it out and have to do the right things at the right time and hit all the small notes and bullshit like that.
I think
every other metaphor you can think of.
Yeah, I think a lot of this is going to be solved with not just that third hour that's coming out probably on a Saturday night from what all the grapevines are pointing to. If you can point to grapevines.
Getting a vineyard first.
Yeah, but also the current dark product that we've known during the pandemic era being moved to this new show called Elevation. I think that's going to reveal a lot of kind of my thoughts and worries about what's going on right now. So anyways, does Scorpio Sky win the TNT title on Wednesday? It would be a cool little TV moment, but a lot of investment is totally lost on something that should have been built already. Will it play into the street fight damaging Darby? Perhaps. Otherwise, it's way too soon. No time for it to set in. Now, the reveals. This is an interesting conversation to be had, and I went probably way deeper than I should have for you guys, so I'm really wanting to know your thoughts on this. Maki Ito, Ethan Page, and Christian were your three big reveals. Maki Ito, the surprise, Ethan Page, the TBA ladder douchebag, and Christian, the highly pegged, put on a pedestal legend. So Ito is clearly over with the fans, and there was a little fun post-match angle, set up the trios match for Dynamite, which I've been begging they need more women tags, and we finally got that. So that was a huge bonus. It really, like, one thing AEW I feel has done extremely well, especially on their pay-per-views, is they've made the buy-ins feel important and worth watching. And Maki Ito's awesome.
I will say, as soon as, because like I as well, I'm in the Maki Ito train. I've loved her from afar. I've only seen a match of hers. I've only seen a match of hers during the AEW tournament. That was the first match I've seen of Maki Ito.
Oh man, we got a good one we can give you.
You know what I mean? Well, yeah, no, go for it. Go for it. I've seen like videos. Joe Shizzle on YouTube done a bunch of Tokyo Joshi Pro videos. I did a deep dive through those. But she was, nothing could beat it. As soon as that happened, I was like, well, at least Maki Ito's here, so like everything else can really go fuck itself. Because like I had no hopes for any of the reveals. None. Ethan
Page, he can go kick rocks. He's one of my three top least favorite wrestlers on the planet, next to Chase Owens and I get whoever I put into the third spot this week. I can't stand this dude. This dude's storytelling, his wrestling style, his attitude in the industry in general. This dude burns bridges. That's what he does for a living. So that's my thoughts over Ethan Page. But luckily, Maki Ito was there to say, whatever. It's okay.
I'm very indifferent to Ethan Page. That's all I'll say.
I have been on the Ito bandwagon since 2018, so I was super happy. I popped so hard once I heard the Sekai Koina, or whatever the fuck I can't pronounce it, but that I was like, oh my god, it's Ito, it's great. I don't know who Ethan Page is, so I don't care.
You're better off not knowing.
Christian was the interesting one to me because again, it had been building the fuck out of who this reveal is. So you're like expecting it to be some like at least A-lister, right? All of us were like, yeah, it's gonna have to be somebody of like some kind of note. It's like C-list Christian. Christian Cage is a C-list star. I'm so sorry. He's Marty Jannetty. He's the Marty Jannetty of his tag team.
All right, that might be a little harsh to put on the guy.
You're doing a little dirty to him there, just like AEW did Maki Ito dirty by having her mic too loud during her entrance.
Oh, come on. Yeah, I mean, she was holding her earpiece, making sure she could hear herself.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll retract some of that. So I've never been big on him because I've never seen him do anything. I saw him as ECW champion once upon a time, but so was Matt Hardy, and that belt meant nothing when they both won it.
That's your problem.
Well, that's not their fault.
That's the championship run you're pointing to, though. That's the problem.
Has he had another one? Because I don't remember him ever having it outside of TNA.
TNA champ, bro.
TNA. That's the one I'm going to point to. He was fantastic in that run. I suggest you go back and check it out. As a heel, superb. Him and Tyson Tomko is fantastic. But he is not the A-list celebrity. I agree with you there. 100% A-list celebrity. A-list fucking wrestler. You know what I mean? He's not that for sure.
Yeah,
100%.
I mean, when this was all going on, I mean, it was really fun just having the speculation and talking about it. I had a blast with it all. When you put your mind to it and you're thinking about, okay, who are the realistic legends and males? And Christian, Kurt Angle, they were kind of like the top two, right? And Kurt Angle could put out a nice little teaser there, and that dude jobbed to Baron Corbin, so I would not blame the guy wanting to make a comeback again. It was very depressing how he went out. But Christian, the more I thought about it, the more I liked this move. And he's by far not my favorite wrestler in the world, but I did like his TNA run, and it kind of occurred to me, I see Christian at this point more as a TNA guy. Okay.
Yeah, me too.
And this is a super interesting topic I want to bring up. And this dude just came back at the Royal Rumble, coming back from career-ending head injuries, which seemingly everyone is these days because they're in a wrestling war. WWE really, really dropped the ball on this guy, and it's kind of a testament how they've always viewed Christian, right? They themselves have always done this guy dirty. It's almost like AEW just had to take advantage of this and sign him as a response. And there's a level of storytelling they can use for the guy, but again, it's all lost on the optics because, Kay, I don't discount your feeling on this because the build and the optics to it all and how heavily over the top they promoted it all made it lose its luster.
Yeah, because they overpromised and underdelivered, 100%.
All right, well, as for his TNA run, so I don't know how many people have probably seen his TNA run, because I know I haven't. I only know two things from his TNA run. One, his song was a straight rip from an Evanescence song that I like, so that's how I recognize his theme. That's how I recognize his theme.
Song too. It's his AEW song.
I know,
too.
that's how I recognize it was him. I immediately knew it was him because I recognized that song anywhere, because I
when
love
that countdown started, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then the music started, I'm like, that's even more interesting. How about that?
Oh, no, all I needed was just like the background noise in the countdown. I was like, it's Christian.
Yeah. Like, I recognize that song everywhere.
Did you guys know the Spanish commentary blew the Christian reveal during the night?
Yes, they called Ethan Page Christian.
Oh,
right?
This look, you can't have that happen. And
no,
how do you not know who? It's fair. All right, answered my own question.
The only second thing I know about him is his name was Christian Cage, and he went by Captain Charisma. I have not seen it. I've seen maybe like videos of him walking out through the tunnel. I don't think I've ever seen a single match. I think I've seen like a highlight music video somebody put up. I think it was like that Chez guy or whatever. And that was cool, using the same Evanescence song that he ripped for his entrance. So those I know who he was because of the song. Like, I know that song and I like that song. I know his song's a straight rip of it with just the instrumental, so I recognize him immediately. But that's all I know. I've never watched him outside of the WWE bubble, and I'm curious how many people actually did, because TNA only had how many people watching it every week?
Just as much as Raw does now.
1.1 to 1.5. They could not eclipse 1.5. That was the joke for many years.
Yeah.
Not as much in hindsight of it all, even though guys like Russo and Bischoff will brag about it. Like, get off your backs. Anyways.
Well, they both suck anyway, so who cares?
Oh, did you? Yeah. Okay, there was a Russo tweet earlier today where he talked about blaming the blame is on the people of the last era that failed to build new stars, and I just looked at that tweet going, Russo, my man.
Yeah, that's you,
Russo,
bro.
That's you.
You put your card on Jeff fucking Jarrett.
Twice.
Get owned. Twice.
Yeah.
Get owned.
Yeah.
So the optics
now,
of
mind you,
go for it.
Let's say this: he was doing a better job at trying to push a younger guy than Eric Bischoff did.
But you're going with Jeff fucking Jarrett.
Yeah, but no, I mean, like, Jeff Jarrett is an upgrade from Hogan for 8 years.
At that point, yeah, I guess. I suppose
Right? Like,
Jeff Jarrett's
I
up
will
there
say
with my
that.
least
I
favorite
will
wrestlers
say
of all
that.
time. That's for sure.
I hate Jeff Jarrett is my least favorite. Okay, just before, I'll never get a chance to say this ever again. Has anybody ever played EW Revenge?
No.
Have you ever heard of TEW?
Yes, I have heard of that. Yeah.
Okay, so this
game, yeah.
so EW Revenge is the predecessor, or the I don't know, it came before it. It was made by the same guy. And so I used to always play a TNA one on that. Christian was always my champion, blah, 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 right? Jarrett was on there. I couldn't use him, and I couldn't fire him because he owned the company, and I couldn't use him because his morale was so low. That's how much I hate Jeff Jarrett. Okay, just so you...
That's perfect.
I appreciate it. I appreciate that inside myself. I made a tweet a couple weeks ago when Miz won the title, and I just kind of went, is Miz just Jeff Jarrett without the book? Oh, the people got so upset. And the funny thing is, it was both Miz fans and both Jarrett fans feeling insulted of the comparison.
Wait, Jarrett has fans?
Yeah, you'd be surprised.
What's their damage?
There's 6 of them.
Yeah, they're out
6 of
there.
them. Did they buy gold from him by any chance?
Yes, they did. They're shareholders in Global Force Gold.
That's all I know. Listen, that's all I know. Jarrett
He probably
for the
caught
past,
some
like,
of his
5,
drunk
10
tacos
years.
in Mexico too.
He also used to throw tortillas at Mexican crowd.
Oh, that's right.
I
Tortillas,
saw
not
this.
tacos.
I saw this video because they showed it to me. Was it like Triple Mania or something?
Yeah.
I was like,
Oh, yeah.
boy.
Triple Mania is
That's
always a gem.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a show that has royal fuck ups and we just laugh and watch it every year? That's Triple Mania.
Oh, yeah, Triple Mania.
Isn't that just Lucha? I don't watch Lucha, but isn't that just a consensus on Lucha?
It's
yeah.
No. Well, it's a consensus on AAA. CMLL is much more respectable beyond the point of they've just given up during the pandemic. AAA is a joke, in my opinion. Jim loves AAA because he loves Lucha. He grew up watching AAA.
Hell yeah.
FCL, that is. I think it's the hottest of garbage. I hate it so much.
You don't like hearing
The
Vampiro
Jeff
fart on
Jarrett
commentary?
promotion.
I don't like Jeff Jarrett.
Put some
being
explosions
like, "Play my
Poofy spoke
fucking
over there.
music. Play my fucking music. Where's my
Play my
fucking music?"
lame butt rock.
Yeah, it's like, why do you have to I'm glad you used the term butt rock. Jim claims I'm the only one that uses it, so thank you.
What? No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like butt rock. Like that's what his song is. Like he comes out to all kinds of stupid shit. Like
Yeah, most.
Like, Jeff Jarrett sucks. Talk about a guy who shouldn't have been in the main event ever. Mid Carter pushed past his means.
All right, so we're getting a little off topic here. Okay, so one last thing: the optics of their big signings on the surface it's treading water. Okay, the consensus is they're either WCW old WWF model, the old stars of WWF, or the TNA WWE reject are the terms that get thrown around, and I'm hearing that more and more, and the Christian one has very much exacerbated that kind of surface level negativity, mind you. They are treading water, okay? However, if you look a little deeper, just a tad, they are all signings of guys from outside the WWE bubble that did have influence and or knowledge outside of WWE. They're all people from different decades and eras of the business, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and the aughts. So here's some examples I have in front of you here. Jake Roberts, 70s. Arn and Tully from the 80s. Big Show, Sting, Dustin, Taz, Malenko, Lynn from the 90s, so boom period. Awesome Kong, Christian, BJ Whitmer, just kind of threw him out there. That's 2000s ROH, fair enough. And then, of course, the founding crew, which makes up those aughts. The only guy I could not kind of peg as one of these signings was Miro. He's the only true WWE guy that AEW recruited, as it seems. To me, it seems.
That's
Thoughts?
true. Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, that makes
I've
sense.
never ever
Mid-Card
thought
Hero.
That's a good name. It's a good name. No, it makes sense though. Yeah, he is WWE. Whether you want to agree with it or not, he is.
So I really can't agree with this WCW or TNA model, especially with how we've seen these people used. It's super interesting that, and I'll kind of harken back to the booking and match structure of Revolution, where you can see, and even Dynamite from last Wednesday. Guys, we got Tully Blanchard wrestling. We had Shaq. We had a Joshi women's match. Like, we had so many different eras and decades of wrestling with so much different influence that there was no way that came across like a WWE show to me. It came across as a mixture of NWA 80s, Attitude Era-esque excitement, and the early 2000s ring work.
I have a quick question. So I mentioned Cody. Would he be counted in the WWE? Because didn't he come through their system initially? I know he left outside and did other things, but
did you know he's the son of a plumber?
Well, you know,
I feel like that's relevant.
It is relevant. It is relevant, but I mean, you were talking people that came from the system, and that was, I'd completely forgotten that he, unless he came up through some other means before he got to WWE. Isn't he like somebody that came through their system?
Well, okay. So a little history on Cody is, yes, he came up through the WWE dev system. And when he first hit the indie scene, he was WWE to the core. And it hurt his credibility. And you can actually point to Christian suffered kind of the same thing when he got to TNA. And very much like Cody, he got to Little Impact TNA, and he was pushed to the moon, and he basically had to adjust his style and presentation so he would get the WWE stink off him. And he worked his ass off on the Indies, ROH, New Japan, and here we are, and he puts on some of the best television matches out there. Yeah, he has a stinker every now and again. Nobody's perfect.
I wasn't knocking him. I wasn't knocking him for because we were talking about people that came to the system, and that was I'd forgotten that he had come to the system because he doesn't wrestle like WWE. So I knew he came out after, but we were talking about who.
Oh, it was a big criticism of him when he left, that he was a WWE kind of shill.
Right,
Tyler, you remember this?
Oh yes, and I'll just my whole 2 cents on the whole thing would just be he started a company. I don't think you can count him.
Right,
you know
he's a founding
fair.
He's a
fair.
founding crew. I just can't.
Like I said, it wasn't supposed to be a point of criticism. You were just talking about people who went through the system initially, because obviously the Giant did not. These other people you had mentioned didn't initially come through that system, and that's why I brought that up. But I mean, I know he wrestled outside of WWE a lot. I didn't watch any of that because I didn't watch that sort of stuff at that point, and I don't typically watch much indie wrestling anymore, or not ever at all. But you know,
so I really wanted to point that out because I found that very interesting. When you watch AEW, I feel like that will bring a lot of perspective, and they'll start doing things on the show that you just can't help but notice. And I hope that helps everybody listening. Especially going forward. And the more I thought about it, the more I noticed, and I was picking things apart last night at Revolution, of this isn't WWE presentation. These are all things pulled from other companies, and it's really helping. I think it's really helping the promotion separate itself from 2 decades old of hive mindset of this is the one way to present a wrestling product, to book a wrestling product. And Kay, Tyler, I believe you listen to a podcast. There's an uphill battle AEW is working through of breaking through this WWE. What's the word?
Stranglehold?
Not stranglehold.
The mindset, it's conditioning.
Conditioning. Thank you. My God, that escaped me. I swear I haven't been drinking yet.
Yet.
So, anyways, that's what I wanted to get. Yeah, that's what I wanted to get out of the way. I hope that was informative and some thought-provoking stuff. Do you guys have any more thoughts or anything that stood out to you?
Just say that I don't think it's ever come across WWE to me, so that's why I've never really made. I mean, outside of them bringing people that were part of WWE or were in there at one point, I don't think it ever felt like WWE to me. So I don't think I've ever really thought about that.
There are moments when I watch it and I'm just like, that's a WWE thing to do. But at the same time, this is, and I always have thought that wrestling should be a variety show. And this is the truest form of a wrestling variety show we've seen in years. The influx of lucha, any episode of Dynamite, any given week, you could see lucha, Joshi wrestling, Japanese strong style. You can see British catch as catch can, American lucha, WWE style, American style. Where else are you going to watch to see all of that in one time? Where? Nowhere.
I love how you preface that as that's the variety show definition you went with, rather than you got to have segments and comedy and stuff. No, that's a WWE variety show definition.
Yeah, is there a place for comedy in wrestling? Of course.
Oh my God! I watched Starrcade with the Boogie Woogie Man Jimmy Valiant. That is nothing but comedy, and I'm entertained. This is in 1986, mind you. The Boogie Woogie Man is one of the. By the way, listen to that Starrcade '86 episode. Everybody, sign up Patreon $5. Look,
plugging it.
I gotta get the plugs in, man. We gotta support our. We gotta support the Joshi. We gotta support the Joshi historical context that we do every 2 weeks.
You forget we watched Nitro, and sometimes that's funny in 1999 with Raven.
You know what? It should have been Raven last night. What about Raven?
What about Scotty?
That would have been great.
Scotty Flamingo comes out.
Fuck.
Have you seen the segment of Raven in his house with his mom and the car and them going to the malls and everything? The Versace, the bank segment. Have you seen any of that?
No.
Oh God.
Oh boy. We're done here. I've got to link you something, and you'll enjoy it, I promise.
Nitro 1999 is very depressing.
I had it bookmarked.
I thought you were talking about recently, like a documentary style thing.
No.
I have seen this. I have seen this. Trust me.
It's joy. It brought me joy.
I've always been a Raven fan. Like, I could listen to Raven talk for hours. I think the guy has a fantastic and smart wrestling mind. It's just a shame that the guy was on so many drugs in the prime of his career.
Oh, man.
Shame.
No kidding.
Shame.
All right, Mr. Tyler Fudge. This is going to be all for you now. I want to get your thoughts over... maybe we'll do a little quick thoughts from you, all right? Did you watch all of the AEW women's tournament on the 3 different outlets?
Every last single morsel of it.
All right. What'd you think of that 6-woman tag with the Shida, Mace Ruga, Rin Kadokura, Emi Sakura, Maki Ito, and Benny?
I thought it was... Most of the stuff on the Japanese side of that tournament was some of the better wrestling women's-wise that AEW's done since their inception. That's my opinion.
Can agree with that, yep.
And the 6-way was it didn't stray from that. It was a good watch. Now, will I say that those matches on that side of the tournament were fantastic? In my opinion, no. But they were good. They were serviceable. They told good stories and was a good work rate. Aside from a couple nitpicks I could have, one would be Aja Kong. So I know Aja Kong is a seminal Joshi wrestler, but she's too old. Like, get her off of TV. That's my opinion.
So it's funny that you say that about Aja Kong, because she's still wrestling in the scene largely today, though her role is a bit different than it kind of is in that tournament. She's not wrestling full-on competitive matches, or she's not supposed to.
I would imagine she's more like Tenzan. Just like
that's a very good apt comparison, and yet she still keeps herself strong, so she can at least be a little bit of a draw and put someone over of importance. That's kind of her role these days.
Yeah. And she does 2 things. She does the rookies, beating up on the rookies, and then surviving Aja Kong, getting kind of a rub there in the scene. That's usually seen as a big deal. You survived Aja Kong.
Yuji Nagata would be a better comparison.
And she has her 1 year. She has her once a year big title match that she usually gets. That's usually delivers very well. So, she's in her role nowadays.
I'm sure there's a way to work around her limitations now as well, because I know that and I seen her at All Out, and at least I can say in my lifetime I seen Aja Kong live. At least I can say that.
So jealous.
I didn't notice. Oh, it was fantastic. But no, most of the women on the Japanese side, I was quite surprised over. There were some that creeped me out a little bit.
Oh.
What's her name? I got her name written down here now. It's like not creep me out, made me feel uncomfortable. What was her name? Mai Saruga.
Okay.
Really? Okay.
Yes. There's some Joshi wrestling has always had like these little pockets of it that really made me feel uncomfortable and I shouldn't be watching this. And Mai Saruga is the perfect embodiment of it. A grown woman that like kind of acts like she's 8, 10, 12 years old.
The idol character.
Okay, the idol character.
Yeah,
I see that.
As soon as that comes on, I just start looking over my shoulders like I really hope nobody's like
that's a cultural disconnect. That's a very fair feeling on that.
But that's the only thing I can really knock it for. You know what I mean? Like really, like Mai Saruga I thought she was good. Like that bridging neck wrench that she would do. I don't know the name of it. I barely know wrestling moves. I don't know. But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know which one? That I think is really good. That's so good. She's a good. You could tell that she works with Emi Sakura, just by watching the way she works. Yuka Sakazaki, I think, is so charismatic. Everything about her, I think, is the song. Normally, under any circumstance, I would hate that song, but for some reason, with her, it works.
I should say, so I asked JD here because I've never seen her come out on Dynamite. They don't use that song.
Yes.
Which I'm like, Tony Khan, you coward.
Don't they? I thought they did.
Tony Khan, you
They
coward.
did for this
use that
tournament,
song.
but before when she was on Dynamite, she did not.
Oh,
Tony Khan's a
really?
coward. Tony Khan's a
Oh.
coward. He needs to use that song. He's a
Fair
coward,
enough.
I say. Use
Fair
that song. It's the best. Listen, the Ayaya song is like a meme within the Joshi fan base. It is like the best, purest thing.
It's okay if memes don't translate. It's fine.
Use silence. He's a coward. Put it on Dynamite.
No, I will say I do like that song. A lot of Japanese songs in wrestling I think are great. They got the best music in wrestling in my opinion.
Some of them do, definitely.
Yeah, like Okada's music to me is just superb. Chef's kiss.
This song
did
is
you-
cooler than he is right now.
What did you think over Ryu Mizunami in this tournament? 'Cause she was the big person that kind of came out, made a name for herself, and we personally hope that she got a fucking contract and she's signing because she is a freelancer. She has no real home base. She's been stuck in Seedling for a number of years, which we hate that promotion these days.
It also
Yeah.
sounds like sperm, so like I mean, who can take it seriously?
I like that
Good
joke.
analogy there.
But Ryo Mizunami, while knowing of her briefly beginning of
Mhm.
AEW, that's the only exposure to her that I had. As soon as I seen her, I thought, oh boy, so this is if Samoa Joe and Okada had a kid, hey?
I love that.
She's like, she kind of works like Samoa. She's got that Haas feel about her,
Yes.
but she's Okada through and through in looks and presentation. The only thing that I could say, because I'm a big proponent for no matter how good something is, there's always a downfall.
Mhm.
And I always feel like I've got to point it out to anybody's dismay. That rope pull taunt she does, that's got to go. To me, that's got to go. That'll never. It's like Emi Sakura's "We Will Rock You" thing. It's never going to get over in America. So get rid of it.
So
That's my opinion.
I always found that interesting because you aren't the only one I keep hearing that critique, and I don't disagree with you. I think some things are a little too wacky sometimes. But I'm just throwing this out there. Is it really much different than, say, Okada doing a Rainmaker pose or The Rock pulling off his elbow pad before hitting the people's elbow? I'm not comparing her at all to these wrestlers, of course. I'm just saying there's always some theatrical kind of taunt that people do before hitting kind of a fun move to get up the crowd. Is it really that much different than that, or is it just kind of her presentation in starting a match that way rather than building up to the taunt?
To me, it's the length.
Mm.
The Rock's elbow. He rolls the elbow off and he throws it and he runs. It takes 5 seconds. Her whole thing just takes so long. It would be one thing if she just did the rope pull and then went for it, but she's got the whole build up into the corner. She comes out of the corner doing the whole pose. It's just too long. Like, I'm all about theatrics. I love theatrics, my friend. I would go to a theater any day, and I mean like a singing theater. But when it's just too long, my attention span as I get older will admittingly it's gotten shorter, and I just don't feel like it. I think it would come over if it was much shorter. That's just my opinion.
I think I have a theory on that. So the spots you had mentioned, JD, like The Rock and Austin, other things, those kind of are hyped up spots, right?
Right.
They pump up before they do it. Mizunami kind of, I mean, she does, but she does it in a very Japanese crowd way. She doesn't do it in a more of an American crowd way where she's like raising her hands up, throwing them up, and get everybody to kind of hype up a bit. She's kind of does the clapping thing and the sort of gesturing that works with Japanese crowds more. Kind of like why Sakura's thing will probably never really get over, because it's the same thing. It's like she's doing what would work in a Japanese crowd, but kind of seems kind of hokey and corny here in the West, because we see the "We'll Rock You" chants, we think football games and playing Little League baseball games. We don't think wrestling. We don't think wrestling, right? No one thinks wrestling when that happens.
Fair. I think you're onto something there.
Yeah.
I think you're onto something there. Like it's like Tanahashi, and because like I'll say I think Tanahashi is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, but his whole air guitar shtick that would never get over in America on a grand scale. Never. Am I the only one that thinks this?
I'm not so sure about Tanahashi's air guitar not getting over. I'd have to think about that one a little bit.
I cringe when I see it.
I'm afraid about that with Ito. I'm afraid I'm afraid some of her stuff isn't going to get over. I think the one thing I'm noticing is a lot of people are seeing her as the Twitter account version of her, not the character of Ito. That I feel like is going to be a kind of a problem, because she's not going to be able to do some of the things that she does in like Japan that gets her over with that crowd. Like her crying to the back isn't going to get over. It's going to get people to not like her. Can totally see the comments.
Yeah, there's gonna be things that just won't get over in another country. I've seen that time and time again. Whether it's people going into WXW in Germany, the aforementioned terrible promotion progress in the UK, Japan. There are things culturally that just plain don't translate, and that is okay. You just adjust to it and learn. It's fine.
Yeah, like if you all of a sudden turned on in Mexico a Canadian maple syrup death match, they wouldn't know what the fuck's going on, right?
I don't even know if they have maple syrup in Mexico. I have more questions about that.
Is that even a match type? Did you just make that up?
No, I just made that up.
I'm sure I saw it at some shitty Smash Wrestling show when I was living in Toronto.
I mean, it sounds like an indie promotion would probably try something like that, but how would that even work?
I bet Ethan Page would come up with that in some Toronto death bin.
You could be right.
Yeah. All right, so let's power through the rest of AEW and we can get to Stardom here. All right, Jade Cargill Shaq match, good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good in a way that it was much better than my expectations allowed it to be.
Hey, on low expectations, heavy deliver.
Exactly.
Red Velvet
low expectations.
Was so proud of herself in this match.
Boy, was she!
She had every right to be too. It was good stuff.
Yeah.
Tully Blanchard fucking and goddamn JJ Dillon pulling out a match straight out of 1985. JJ Dillon looks exactly the same as he did in the 80s. It's very scary.
That's absolutely wild.
He fucking pulled the shoe out, guys. Come on.
Yeah. Here I was thinking that Conan invented throwing the shoe.
I didn't get that spot, so
it's okay. I got it, Kay. It's fine. It's okay if you don't get every single thing. That is something I think people just take to heart just way too much. Just have fun. All right, Tyler Fudge. Ryu Mizunami, Nyla Rose, and Ryu Mizunami, Hikaru Shida. I need your thoughts. These two matches.
I think she gave both competitors their best match in AEW.
Hey, all right.
That's all I'm going to say, because I'm never a fan of Nyla Rose's matches, and I'm sure there's going to be some pocket somewhere that's going to be like, oh, it's because he hates people like that. And it's like, no.
Well, here's a question. Do you feel that Nyla Rose has leveled up / improved over the last year.
100%.
Well, then that's what matters, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If she was
100%.
regressing, then we'd have a problem.
That's the problem. Yeah, that's the problem. Because like I think there's glimpses of what she does well, like, and the glimpses of what she does well is the stuff that she stole from Kenta. But other than that,
yeah, all right. You heard it here. Tyler Fudge thinks Nyla Rose is the new Kenta. There you go.
Fuck you.
Exact quote.
Tyler Rose. Oh, he said Tyler Rose at first. So
Tyler.
I
did make a flub.
Oh, sweet, awesome. But yeah, no. But her match against Hikaru Shida, I think there was the only, and like I said, I always got to give a downfall to something. Way too many near falls. But I think I thought the match was really good.
See, I pegged it as the best women's match in AEW history, including the pay-per-views. I've heard the too many near falls critique. Hey, that's fair. I don't mind it. I personally think that in our universe, in Kay and I's Joshi little universe, we think it's the best Ryo Mizunami singles high-profile match of her career, and put on that stage with Shida, putting on a Joshi to the core match. I think it delivered. It was 15 minutes. They got plenty of time. I loved it.
Yeah, that was an ice ribbon match. So
yes, very much so.
It was an ice. They pulled straight from ice ribbon, and I loved that. Mizunami is. I mean, you said this is her best match. I mean, she's only had one other high-profile match in her entire career, and that was it in freaking Wave, where she was just a transitional champion and lost it to Kumi Oroha. Or, I mean, Misaki Ohata. I'm sorry. An old person. I forgot beat her. I'll say this. I will still be a fan of Nyla Rose. I'll still say that I like Nyla Rose. I saw her before AEW. I saw her in Japan, wrestling Takumi Oroha, Mio Momono, Rin Kadakura over in Marvelous, and I thought she was pretty damn good. I think the problem is, and I've said this before, is her coming to the States and having to adapt not only to a more Western style, but also adapt to lesser competition. I think the same problem happens with Shida, right? Shida in Japan is a very good wrestler. Not one of the top 5, but she's very good, right? She comes over, and now she has to carry lesser talent as well as adapting to their more Western style. And that's why I think their matches don't hit the same heights that they would if they were against people from Japan. And we see that when they face people from Japan, right? Mizunami and Shida had a fantastic fucking match. Every time Riho and Shida get in the ring, good fireworks. It's because they know each other. They know each other's style well enough, because they're not wrestling a Western match. They're wrestling a Joshi match. And it's always noticeable whenever they tag in tag matches and wrestle each other. That's the big thing here.
Britt Baker, Maki Ito defeats
Oh,
Riho, Thunder Rosa. They go almost 15 minutes themselves. That was really fun. Young Bucks Inner Circle. Young Bucks retain. Ray Phoenix eliminates Jungle Boy to win the Casino Tag Team Royale. They'll get a tag title shot. So we get a Pac Phoenix Young Bucks match. If that's not going to be Dragon Gate to the core, I don't know what will.
It's going to be fantastic is what it's going to be.
Yeah, Miro killed Chuck Taylor and Cassidy. Very happy that we actually got some progression in there. Big money match. I love the stipulation. It's goofy NWA shit. I love that. I love it. It's just fun. It's fun. That's what that is. Like, I'm watching all these NWA things, and they always have stip matches like this. So that's where that was. Scorpio Sky won the ladder match. We talked about that. Darby Allin Sting in the street fight against Team Taz. Holy crap.
I think I pegged it. I called it the indie action movie match.
I thought it was like
It was
Lucha
shot like
Underground.
an indie action movie. I see. I've never watched Lucha Underground. I thought it was like an indie movie. Like it was like one of those action indie movies you see with the way the cameras were done and the filters and all that stuff. It reeked to me as an indie movie, but in a fun kind of B movie indie kind of action kind of thing, and I liked it. I liked it a lot.
There we go.
Since you brought up Lucha Underground, I gotta leave. Lucha Underground is how I got to watch my first and only Stardom show before now.
Because of the
Black Lotus Tribe. Yeah.
Freedom and Stardom. Yeah.
Yeah. Mayu Utani, Kari Hojo, and Io Shirai. And so it got me to go over and I watched it. Oh well, I mean
I'm
that's
so
really
happy.
nice.
You warms my
You
heart.
brought so much joy to my testicles.
Well, it's more where that came from. Yeah, they got me. That's what got me to go over and watch my first Stardom show actually, and I didn't really like. I liked those guys. I didn't really like the show.
That was what 2016 Stardom. Yes, rough shit there.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I didn't know what to make of the street fight
Sorry
going
for
in.
hijacking, by the way.
No, it's fine. I didn't know what to make of the street fight going in. I was, with the build up, I thought the build was tremendous. Personally, maybe a little repetitive during some weeks. I think that's okay, especially when you put on a weekly TV show. I thought when it really counted was near the end, and this match way over delivered. Sting absolutely played up his end of the bargain. 62 years old. Incredible stuff. And then, of course, Kenny Omega, John Moxley with the Onita Funk homage match with the poofy fart smoke at the end. Ironically, I think this is going to get AEW a lot of sympathy views and might actually give the promotion a little bit more momentum. I think in an ironic way, it's going to help.
The memes alone will give them a people viewing them, because the memes are everywhere. They've broken circles that aren't just, I've seen AEW circles, they've broken outside of those circles.
There we go.
I'm seeing people at work, a job, people who are kind of aware of wrestling, kind of watch it here and there. They talked about it with me. Got asked, so what the hell is that explosion thing I'm seeing? I'm like, well, sir, let me tell you.
I showed that video to my fellow engineers that I work with, and we all started brainstorming what could have possibly went wrong, and we all kind of came to the consensus that there was a miswiring with half of the explosives, minimum of half, and the bombs could have possibly been put upside down. So that could have been part of it.
I don't know if that would make the explosions any bigger, because the way they were stationed, the explosions are always going to be on the sides of the ring, and I don't think they would have ever going, because it was so far off. I don't think they would have reached the ring, so I don't think it would have had the same effect regardless.
Well, if you look at kind of where everything is pegged up in and around the ring, you can see ones like right under the apron, and those didn't go off at all.
Okay, see, I didn't even notice those. I just noticed the ones on the sides, the bigger ones.
Yeah, I rewatched and I paid
ones.
close attention to a lot of detail, and I'm like, okay, those clearly didn't go off. Those clearly didn't go off.
Was there supposed to be more for the barbed wire traps on the outside? Because it seemed that was a little wonky too. Like it seemed like only 2 of the 4 corners went off, or something like that. Or...
Yeah, there was whomever was with the rigging. It's not like you can just test the explosives and put them back in, right?
No, you got to pray to God you did it right the first time.
Yeah, it's almost like you go to a 4th of July show and the fireworks display stop going off, and you're like, all right, what's happening here? Or you get some duds in there, just the gunpowder didn't work the proper way.
Some party pyro. Pyro.
Really bummer. Okay, let me, Tyler, do you have any lingering thoughts before we get into Stardom here?
No. Oh, AEW overall was a good show. Yeah, it was a shame.
I'm gonna remember the show for the rest of my life. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, without a doubt. I can't wait for the interviews to come out in the next 5 years or so.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? Like when John Moxley and Eddie Kingston actually talk candidly about this, it's gonna be fun.
Oh man!
All right. Man, when I was sitting there, I was laughing. I had to cover my face so hard I couldn't stop laughing.
Apparently, too, Omega was furious backstage. That's what I've heard.
I would be too. Yeah, how could you not be disappointed and mad? All right.
Yep. Kick a table over. God damn it! I look like a fool out there.
Let me play
Macho Man tipping over the tables.
All right. Let me play Julia's song. We can get some Stardom here. This episode will definitely be released in 2 parts, with the other sections of the podcast coming out on regular release date. This one will be way before. So here's Julia's song. Okay. Stardom Budokan. All-Star Dream Cinderella, March 3rd, 2021. Nippon Budokan, 3,300 people shoved it in this sucker. Commentary by Murata, Makoto, Milano Collection AT from Dragon Gate. Fuka, she was there, Kay. Aiba, Tomita, and Akira fucking Hokuto. More on her comments
legend
later.
herself.
Was she there?
She was there, and if you were able to find the translations of some of the things she was saying on commentary and the history that she has in matches that took place at Budokan,
Especially the main event.
very interesting comments she had. So more on that later. But Mr. Tyler Fudge, big man over here, new Joshi fan, obviously.
I'm like one of those, long time listener, first time caller guy.
Yeah, right. What is your background in seeing Joshi wrestling? Obviously, there's some AEW we spoke about earlier. You mentioned before we were recording that you had seen one Stardom show prior. Is that the only Joshi show you've ever seen? And when was that?
Yes. I've seen matches. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not shy from just checking it. Hey, I heard this match was really good. I'm going to check it out. I've checked out numerous Maui Watani matches, Konami matches. I've dabbled in a little bit of Toki Joshi Pro, but outside of that, like you were talking about, like dabbled in watching like YouTube videos, not matches, just like learning about it. The other, there was more than I ever imagined in Joshi wrestling.
There's too many of them, actually.
Companies that I would have ever. There's so many of them. If they all consolidated, can you imagine how many great?
It's funny you say that because they probably should, but there's reasons why they don't.
That's fair. Japan, they are a fickle bunch.
There are old people who won't get out of the way. You'll hear that. You'll hear parts of that later.
But no, I have seen also old Joshi matches. I've seen, like I said, I wouldn't be able to tell you all the matches of like Bull Nakano's, or I grew up watching her in WWF, and I've seen some of her matches in I guess Japan. I wouldn't be able to tell you what companies they were in, but I'm not a complete stranger. Yeah, AJPW women's.
AJW.
Okay, yeah. I would say I'm moderate, basically novice to modern Joshi wrestling for sure.
Okay.
Like, I follow Tam Nakano on Instagram. I've never ever seen a match.
Oh no,
right?
That's dangerous territory.
It's like saying, yeah, I followed this Unagi person on Instagram. I never watched a match of hers, and boy, talk about an experience.
Talk about difference and contrast. Holy shit!
Like, no kid, Jesus, if that's your only frame reference of her, that's a whiplash.
I was very surprised when I turned it on. I was like, she's in the main event. I was like, oh no! Like, I did not expect anything good to come of this. I think she's the only female wrestler I follow on Instagram. I'm pretty sure.
Well, I can probably guess why.
It's because she's cute.
I also recommend following Mina Shirakawa.
Okay.
And Unagi?
Yeah, basically Tam's entire faction. The Boob Crew.
That sounds fun.
I mean, what else does Instagram exist for?
No, have him follow on Jamu.
Nah, it's
Vince McMahon didn't think Asian women were hot until Jim Ross showed him an Asian porn.
Oh boy.
I think that's a legit story.
Oh no, I don't doubt it. All right, so fast track here. Fast track here, Kay. Importance of this event in historical context. Go. So,
this venue that are in Nippon Budokan, because there's several other Budokans that people get kind of confused. There's Yokohama, Osaka, whatever, right? This is Nippon Budokan. This is the national Budokan, right? This venue has not been run by any women's promotion. Little had a women's match in a one-off show since 1997. August 18th of 1997. I think it's 18th. August of 97 was the last time any company, any women's company, had even touched these halls. It's such a big deal for them to have run this because All Japan Women's, the last company to run it, had ran it annually since 94, more or less annually since 94, right? It was their big venue. It hadn't been run since then. And 97 was actually the pivotal year when AJW went under, or started on their track to go under, right? So it was a big deal there for them to even be running it, Stardom that is, to even be running it, because no promotions even thought about running it, let alone could even afford to try to run it. It's a big, big deal. Like a massive deal. And for them to have done this, it moves the needle in a way over in Japan that no other, like, it's second only to them running the Tokyo Dome. That's how big of a deal it is for the women's over there, the women's scene over there. It's such a big deal. You had wrestlers from other promotions either in attendance or buying the pay-per-view. Viable promotions buying pay-per-views to watch this historical moment. It was a big deal.
It's the largest credible Joshi attendance in the last 15 years at 3,318. And I use the word credible because if you're a listener to Red Leaf Retrocast Patreon or at Big Egg Joshi, that's Kay's podcast where we release the historical 2010s Joshi content over there. Patreon more or less is 2 weeks early content at the $1.50 tier. The word credible is important because a lot of these numbers up until the last just few years, in very recent times, companies would fudge the fuck out of numbers. Or a mixture of also giving free tickets away to fill up an audience. So
that was a lot of that.
There was a lot of that. So Neo is a good promotion to gauge where, okay, there was a filled out 1,000-seat Korakuen or what have you, but they might have only had 300 paid. There's a big difference between saying there's 5,000 people at, who was it, Yuzupon or Axe?
Yuzupon. It was Yuzupon's. And there were a lot of people there. I don't know if 5,000 is a credible number, but we don't know how many of those even paid. But there was a lot of people in attendance for that.
Right. I found an old article that said there were probably close to 2,500 and only 1,500 were paid max. So it's not the most credible site in the world. So even what I'm saying may not be the most credible, but that just shows that even through Stardom of the era, you couldn't trust their numbers, along with various Joshi wrestlers' produce shows, like a Chigusa Nagayo produce show before Marvelous was a full promotion. It was all about her coming out of retirement after 10, 15 years. And her numbers are very much in question with what was going on. So this 3,300 is a big deal even during a pandemic. Okay? So yes, you can make the argument that attendance may not mean as much to a lot of promotions out there. Like AEW running 1,400 people and New Japan running 300 less, 3,000 at the Budokan the very next day. This means a lot more to Stardom, especially during a pandemic. You can actually gauge the importance of this. And the fact that we found out later that Noah's 4,200 that they produced was probably a fraudulent number.
Go figure, because they couldn't have that many in the attendance to begin with.
Right. Because word came out that Stardom was actually turning people away due to emergency COVID restrictions and fire marshal standards for what was going on at the time. So that immediately put into question. So it's either Noah broke COVID restrictions heavily.
They would not have been allowed to, especially because the time they ran that was the heaviest of the restrictions.
Right. Or they just lied about the number. So the latter is the more likely scenario. So that is quite something just to think about from there. So, Tyler Fudge, what did you learn, first of all, from watching this show?
I learned that Milano AT does commentary for Stardom first. I pop for that.
He's also a trainer.
Fantastic. Is he really?
Yeah.
That's questionable. That's questionable. He is technically labeled as a guest head trainer, but how much training he actually does is up for debate.
I believe I read an article of Mayu saying how much he influences kind of stringing together moves and learning new things and helping out with tags, because he is part of the Dragon Gate system, and you see a lot of Dragon Gate in Stardom.
Right, but Lady C let slip that Mayu has been training everyone back there for a while. Like, she let that slip and deleted the
Well,
tweet
Mayu's
almost
the Dragon
immediately.
Gate mark, so there.
There you go, I guess. I mean, that she liked Dragon Kid, so hey.
All right, go on.
I would, well, for me, the biggest takeaway that I will get from this is that now I've only seen one match, okay?
That's fine.
But I don't know if there is a possible bigger star in, just say, women's wrestling as a whole than Julia?
Oh
Julia?
God, it's great that you say that, because she is their big star that she's pushing. I like how that translates to somebody who's not fully in the loop, and it's amazing. Yeah,
Well,
she's their big star, Julia.
Everything she does is so good. Her mannerisms, her facial expressions, her cocky attitude, it all is a good bundle, and it just works, and she just looks like a bitch. You know what I mean? Like, she has this cadence to her. It's just like, you look like you would kick my ass. So I'm not going to say a word to you. Like, she's just a powerful woman.
I love that. I love that you noticed that as a someone who's not in the loop fully, like somebody who's not following it or watching the people on Twitter melt down over her getting pushed. I like that you noticed that. That says a lot to her star power. Don't you agree, JD?
Absolutely. I would point to only two other people on the show that came across as massive stars on a big scale. One was Mayu Iwatani, and the other was Utami Hayashishida, the current red belt champion.
I agree. Okay, so my standout list was as so, and I am not exaggerating on anything. Julia, Konami, Tam Nakano, Utami Yashihita, and Gokujin Death.
Gokujin Death, yes.
Oh my God, Gokujin Death. Oh,
Love it.
She's fantastic.
I will say real quick that Shuri is right on the cusp.
Which one's Shuri?
She was the one that faced Konami. She came out in the big
good.
red. She had like the feather outfit.
Yeah, she was good. I think the only other one that to me has as much of a package as Julia is Konami. Like,
from an in-ring standpoint?
From everything.
Okay.
Like her look, the way she presents herself is like, you look at her and it's like, I will say this, a lot of Joshi wrestling, not Stardom in a whole, but like, you look at Riho and all these girls, they all look so similar. They all have the idol look going on. Yeah. And it's very hard to distinguish from one and the other. That's why I like the Gokujin Death is like, immediately is like, I like you. I like everything you stand for in life. Right? Like, it's just like, you're great.
That is that is a very interesting observation, and it's very much valid. Because the idol look is a very cultural, popular thing.
Yeah,
and,
I can see that,
and it definitely is a Japanese thing. That there is a place of understanding why they do that, why they all look like that, why the cute factor is important. And Kay and I are going through the 2010s, really learning about the scene coming out of the Dark Ages. Patreon, $1.50 tier. Go! There, gotta make the plugs, man. It'll never end.
Hey, gotta love it, man.
The idol look was very much frowned upon during that era, and it was
no. The 2010s is when it was embraced. It was the 2000s.
That's when it started to get more embraced, because
No.
Kay, you started JD Star, and that was starting the whole thing.
Right. So JD Star started it in 2001 when they did their whole actress to wrestlers thing. That idol look thing was present up until 2007, but it wasn't until around 08, 09, like a little after they folded, that other companies and other wrestlers, and some of them around the time were also starting to adapt it, but that's when it was become more widely adapted. 2010 was when everyone just full on embraced it because it was all that they was making money. It was the cute wrestlers selling the photos of themselves being cute.
Right, I understand that. I was saying that
started,
it was. Yeah, I just want to make it clear. I was saying that it was initially frowned upon, and because the old guard still didn't like it, but it made money, so they had to embrace it.
The old guard was just burying them anyways. They didn't even care if they looked like idols anymore at that point. So the scene didn't grow for a whole 2 decades almost.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting topic there. Yeah, Konami is definitely somebody that a lot of Western fans initially gravitate to because of her style and presentation to it. So I understand that. I mean, look at Asuka; she's very much the same.
Almost like she trained her.
Yeah.
Right. I knew that about her, just so you know. I do. But she doesn't wear any shoes. That's the first thing I noticed. Like, bitch ain't got no shoes on. Holy Christ.
So that's the first time she's done that in a while. So Kana or Asuka in WWE used to do that too in Japan, which used to not wear shoes. Konami did a similar thing up until 2019? She started wearing shoes regularly.
Okay.
This is the first time she's gone barefoot because it was a big deal. Much people made a big deal how she's taking it super seriously. She went barefoot in a lot because Shuri, the person she was facing, also trained her. Was also the person who housed her when Asuka or Kana left her high and dry. Like she left her high and dry, like real bad. So, Kana, I'll call her Kana. It's easier to distinguish. When she was in Japan, she was known for sort of talking out of turn, as it was called in Japan, right? So she was constantly voicing opinions. She was talking shit about the old guard in a not kayfabe way.
One person in particular on the show was part of that.
One Nanae Takahashi got a lot of shit
from her later.
But she did these things. She did these 2 things called the Joshi Manifesto 1 and then Joshi Manifesto 2. The first one was shitting on the idol culture stuff, and that was in like 07, 08. So that's why I was saying that it had started becoming more of an accepted thing at that point. And then the second one was shitting on the old guard for not letting the younger people come up. So by the time she got the offer to WWE, she bolted because she had so many enemies in Japan that even if she was in the same locker room and getting booked on shows, everyone in the locker room hated her. She was pretty much dressing alone.
Because I always heard that like her and Io Shirai were never fans of each other.
That stemmed because initially Kana, Io, and Io's sister Mio were a group called Triple Tails, right? So they were this little group. Kana took both the sisters under her wing, protected them a lot from the old guard. They were really, really tight. Then Io left for a company left for Stardom, right? Well, Rossi, the guy that runs Stardom, Kana doesn't like him, at all. But she definitely doesn't like Nanae Takahashi. She hates Nanae. Nanae was originally involved in the starting of Stardom. And to say they hate each other, at that point, they wanted to kill each other. They couldn't even be in the same shows, let alone the same vicinities. They wanted to kill each other. They hated each other. They shot on each other in matches prior to all of this. There was a lot of bad blood. So she hated Io for leaving her and going to the company where Nanae was.
Doggy dog world. Tyler Fudge, if you get the opportunity, we did a episode that's free at the Big Egg Joshi podcast. That's from our Patreon, so it does go out for free after 2 weeks, where you can learn about the whole Kana and Nanae Takahashi story, history, and falling out. Do recommend that.
I also did an episode.
I'm low key like super interested in this. Like I hate to be the one that's just like I love this rumors and innuendo bullshit. I do. I love it. I do. Yeah. I think it's great. It's fascinating. Just the whole back business. That's why I still watch wrestling today. Is more of a fascination with the behind the scenes stuff than what actually goes out.
So it's good that you asked that. So what's your information on Yoshiko? While we're on this topic,
JD, did you tell him what I said to you?
I gave him kind of a simple bullet point, but for the sake of the audience and Kay, inform.
Yes. So I know briefly from a TV show, The Wrestlers on Vice.
Vice documentary, yeah.
Hosted by Damian Abrams, fantastic human being. I had a chance to meet him once. Just a beautiful human being. That just the whole jealousy aspect and didn't like the fact that Act was that her name? Act?
Yep, Act Asakawa.
was supposed to win the title and blah blah blah. That's and then you feel, because like whether or not it was Yoshiko that was in fault in this or Act, you've got just the contrast looking at it. This very big woman beating the ever living shit out of a tiny Japanese lady. Right? It's never a good look.
No.
For me, knowing very little and just not being a fan of unprofessionalism in a wrestling ring in general, it's one thing to hit a couple slaps, but to go the whole match with it, to me, is unacceptable. And anybody that would hire somebody like that whether it was one time or not, automatically says that I don't care about my workers' well-being and they should never be hired again. I was watching this Mayu Iwatani match and some lady that I didn't know, and I'm watching it. I'm just like, fuck, she looks familiar. Right? And I just dawned on me, it was like, oh, that's that lady. And I was like, fuck this match.
so it's what you're feeling is perfectly valid. I felt that way initially too, until I found out the entire context of the situation, because it goes a little bit deeper than that Vice documentary. And Chris Wolf is an unreliable narrator because she was the one that was feeding him a lot of this knowledge. She has changed the story a few times now, her parts in the story. But there's one interview she did with Act on her YouTube channel that's not like that. That video is not there anymore. I hunted for it. I remember what the thumbnail looked like, and it's just not there anymore. Where her and Act were talking about it. And there's also 2 other articles, sadly only in Japanese, that Act talks about it. And so the context you pick from all of it is, at the time, like I mentioned, Nanai Takahashi and Narasi and Fuka, those were the 3 people, the 3 brainchilds around Stardom. Rossi had the book, Nanai had some input and sort of helped steer some of the direction early on, and Fuka was pretty much just the trainer, especially with the younger wrestlers, right? So there was this clash at a certain point between Nanai and Rossi with the direction for the company. So Rossi wanted to take it in the direction of the company where it's currently at now, right? Where it's the looks are important, but the in-ring matches the looks. It's like it's you look good
a
and
wrestling
you fight good.
mindset, if you will.
It's the American wrestling mindset where, you know, obviously you're going to have all kinds of different people, but there's the traditional aspect of, you know, what looks good translates well kind of deal.
Yeah, I mean, look at Dragon Gate and DDT, where they have sexy Bishi Boy men doing questionable photos. It's not just the women that do this.
No, it's not.
I mean,
well, like, wasn't Show and Yo? Don't Show and Yo do stuff like that too?
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's a Japanese thing, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, it's totally a Japanese.
Yeah,
but you gotta look at it where it's you market the person. Yeah. And then the in-ring is important as well for why they are watching you be a hot motherfucker.
Right. Yeah. So to get back to the story a little bit, Nanai Takahashi wanted to take the direction in the old school way, like her promotion currently, Seedling, where it's very old mentality, very old dojo system. It's you wrestle, you slap, and you prove yourself against the old person. It's like you don't, because the old person never let you win. That's the mentality she wants, because that's the environment she was coming up through, and through her own little connections of knowing some of the old guard, was able to supplant herself in that without having to struggle much. I don't like the Nanai Takahashi. So at this point,
we've compared her to the Kevin Nash of Joshi with her mindset and how she goes about booking and putting herself over, the et cetera, et cetera. For a comparison.
She's the one that had the match with Momo Watanabe, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So Nanai has Alpha Female had shed lights on this in an interview that Eric did over at the Joshi Pod. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm indifferent. I'm indifferent about her. Something about me tells me she's off.
So
she's actually a reality star in Germany.
Really?
Yeah, she is
off.
She was a big wrestler too at one point.
So she is off.
I guess in that point. I mean, reality shows in Deutschland is as his
reality shows anywhere. Reality shows in general, they're just crazy.
I mean, when I was in Germany, I was able to see her on there. So
listen to this cultured motherfucker.
Right.
Yeah.
I know, but so Alpha Female had shed light, or Jazzy Gabbard, I guess, had shed light on the bullying culture in the back room at the time in Stardom. She isn't the only one to mention this. This was mentioned by Chris. This was mentioned by Act. Nanai had her clique. It was her protege, Yoshiko, which is important to mention. This is her protege.
19, 20 years old, mind you. So very young
Yes,
girl.
still very young, and Japan has this like senpai kohai thing. So if your senpai says do something, you do it, right? This is going to be important, right? It was her, Natsuki Tayo, and a fourth person that we've never known who it is, right? So Act was popular. She was getting really popular with her little, because she looked attractive. She spat alcohol on people's face. She was charismatic. The fans ate everything she did up. Rossi was like, well, I'm going to put the belt on her.
What a
This time
thought.
Yoshiko was champion, right? She's over. Yoshiko has the belt. The fans don't care about Yoshiko. Shocker. They don't care about the old school mindset at the time. This person here is over with the fans. I like money. She's going over. So we don't have definitive, concrete, she told her to do this. But if you read between the lines and connect the dots, you can tell that Nanai Takahashi gave Yoshiko marching orders. And this is where I feel bad for Yoshiko. Because her and Act were friends. They were drinking buddies. I don't know if they were drinking buddies at the time of this, but they weren't on bad terms. I think Act had kept saying that they weren't on bad terms leading into this. So Yoshiko here is having to be told by her senpai, her mentor, the person that she knows if she disobeys, she's going to end up on receiving end of this bullying stuff that apparently was pretty fucking bad. Like, apparently Fuka had to, like, protect a lot of the younger kids from even being near Nanai because Nanai was a bitch. Right?
One way to put it.
She's a bitch. I hate her. But so this was Yoshiko coming out there and being told, you're going to hit her. You're going to continue to hit her until they stop the match. Like, I mean, I'm paraphrasing. I don't know the direct orders, but you could read between the lines and see that marching orders were given. And who fell on the sword but Yoshiko? Well, Nanai Takahashi gets away scot fucking free. It didn't leave right away. Yoshiko left right away. Nanai got to stay there for another cushy 6 months and then she left.
Because I was always under the understanding that they both left at the same time.
No, that's a very common misconstrued fact. Yeah.
Yeah. Nanai got to have a cushy 6 months back still and staying in Stardom before she left.
Now I will say this. Everybody is their own human being.
Sure.
Absolutely. That's all. Whether it's cultural or not, everybody is their own. I understand in like Japanese female wrestling back in the time, like there is a cultural difference. But yeah,
I'll follow it up with one last thing. So since Yoshiko came back, because she was gone for a whole year, self-isolation, she wasn't blackballed from the industry. At the time, Nanai had started up her own promotion, Seedling. So if Yoshiko wanted to come back and wrestle, she could have at any point. She chose to isolate herself from wrestling. She felt bad. So for 2.5 years after when she was back, every time someone came up to get photos with her, she apologized to them. I'm sorry I've inconvenienced you. I'm sorry I shouldn't have done what I did. I'm sorry I inconvenienced you. If anyone brought it up, she would do the deep bow. I'm super sorry. Like, she felt horrible. You could tell with how she's talked about it since it happened. You could tell in this Mayu match. Like, if you watch the Stardom World uploads with the promos, like, I feel like it's genuine emotion when she's like, Mayu's the only person that connects her to Stardom. Everyone else is gone. She's the only person that connects her outside of Nanai Takahashi to Joshi. Because everyone else around her that was with her is gone or doesn't talk to her because of it. Mayu is the only person who's kept contact, because apparently Mayu never stopped keeping contact with her because Mayu knew what happened. Mayu was backstage. She can easily see all this happening.
It's also my understanding that the people, the prime candidates involved, Act and Company and Yoshiko, they have reconciled with each other.
Yes, Act has said that she's forgiven Yoshiko. She won't forget what happened because you don't really forget that.
You don't truly. Yeah.
She's specified that she forgives Yoshiko. She always continues to specify specifically that I forgive her. She doesn't say her name anymore because she's tired of it getting brought up all the time. Because she gets asked about it all the time. It's like she gets asked more about that, but in her actual career, which is actually pretty good.
I don't know. I know nothing about her. I just know her as the girl that got shit kicked out of her.
Yes, that's all everyone knows her for at this point. You can tell it bothers her. So when she says she forgives Yoshiko, she's always specified Yoshiko. She does not forgive Nanai because Nanai is a bitch. Nanai caused all of this. It was avoidable. That's all. That's all I'll say.
Okay, so Tyler, with
Yes.
this kind of contextual information, I feel we're all in agreement that shooting on someone is an unforgivable incident. Agreed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
100%.
However, this is my thoughts. Is nobody able to bring character back through genuine acts of trying to what am I trying to say here?
She's trying to get redemption.
Yeah, redemption. Yeah.
Is no one
100%.
above redemption? Can nobody do that? That's what I ask.
I think redemption is definitely something that can come. And hey, I'm not one to sit here and say she doesn't feel bad about what she did. She's not remorseful of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I am in no way, shape, or form any kind of moral police whatsoever. In fact, like I'm a proponent on SCL many times that, you know, like not people aren't always pieces of shit. People can change. If you do something as a kid, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, we all do stupid shit when we're 20 years old, right?
Oh yeah, tell me about it.
Right? So we all do it.
College in Germany. Let me tell you some stories.
College in general, I got stories.
There you go. Right. So like, we us as people would not want to be held accountable, or want not be held to the standards that we set for ourselves when we're 20 years old nowadays. And no way, shape, or form should she be held accountable for that. Like, I didn't know she was that young because she looked old as fuck in that clip.
Yes, another
lack of eyebrows.
Very big. She's always been
Lack
very
of eyebrows,
big, so it doesn't help.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, and to me, it was always just a jealousy factor,
And that's what that's what it's perceived as, which is not correct at all.
No. If anything, it's if you want to point jealousy in any direction, whether I don't think it's an accurate way. It wouldn't be on Yoshiko. It would be on Nanai.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No,
it's almost like when you're watching. Yeah, it's almost like when you're watching a TV show and you got like a mafia movie going on, and you feel bad for kind of the bit player just trying to become a made man, but you got fucking what's his face from Boardwalk Empire, Nucky. He's the real mastermind piece of shit in the background, really pulling the strings. There's a reference for you. I made a fucking Boardwalk Empire joke in Joshi Wrestling.
And it went right over my head because I've never seen that show.
Is Nucky the dude from Prison Break? No, I'm thinking of a completely different show. I think I'm thinking about a completely different show.
Yeah. Anyways,
I've never seen Boardwalk Empire.
Yoshiko fell on the sword. Nanai gets away with it.
Yeah, that's what bothers me the most.
It bothers me too because Nanai's a bitch.
Okay.
Has either one of those two been on a Stardom show since?
This was their first one
for both people.
Yes,
for both of them
in 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying is I should be more upset at the fact that Nanai Takahashi has a match.
Yes. You should be more upset at the fact that she's gotten away.
I get that.
Being the one that made all that happen.
Yeah, yes, call a spade, I guess, right?
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So now that we got that out of the way, kind of a big learning experience. If you guys want to learn about another kind of not similar incident, but definitely kind of something to compare it to, is the Shinobu Kandori Jackie Sato shoot fight from, I believe that was in, what was that year, 93K?
Yes. It was 93.
This goes down in some sort of infamy in modern wrestling, in kind of a sense of the words. The Shinobu Kandori Jackie Sato one. Imagine if Stone Cold Steve Austin shot on The Rock. You may think that's over-exaggerating it, and I would actually disagree. You could argue that Kandori and Jackie Sato is bigger, at least in what they meant to women's wrestling.
You're talking about the one in when they're trying to recruit Kandori, right?
No. Well,
okay.
No, it was the one later, I believe, that ended up causing the split of JWP.
Oh yeah. So there wasn't like it wasn't like a in ring shoot. I mean, it kind of was, but more of the shoot happened backstage.
I guess another comparison would be the Hashimoto. A direct comparison would be that one we just watched. Kay, would be the Inoki sending out fucking Ogawa to shoot on Hashimoto.
Right, and then that guy felt bad for it. Like years later, he was feeling
very similar instance. But in that case, Inoki was the one that took the brunt of the issue that gave the marching orders.
Right, well, because it was known. It was more well known at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nanai was. She was. I mean,
Tyler, are you familiar with these two stories at all?
I'm familiar of the Inoki one.
Yeah.
With Hashimoto. I'm familiar with that one.
Yeah.
I admittedly have no idea who the other two are.
Okay. Have you ever heard of Beauty Pair?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. I'll just leave it
Didn't
at
have
that.
anything to do with Manami Toyota.
No, quite before her time.
eras.
Quite before her
Different
time.
eras.
I know nothing past Manami Toyota and Bull Nakano. That's I've never seen anything past that.
All right, so let's get some more questions here. It's okay.
No, you're perfectly fine.
Mr. Tyler Fudge
Yes.
from the Federation, Suplex City Limits. Everyone should go listen. Did you gravitate towards a particular style of match? You mentioned Konami. Did anybody or any match style kind of stand out on the show? Because there was a number of different matches that presented different things.
Definitely the Konami match for sure. Like you had said, that whole mat based, I did not expect to see that. And when it happened and was as good as it was and as crisp as it was and as believable, like I really thought these two girls were going to rip each other's arms off and beat them with, you know what I mean? Like they were wrenching. I just love that shit.
MMA backgrounds for both of them. Former I believe Kay Shuri has a kickboxing MMA background, correct?
Kickboxing and judo.
Yep. There you go.
Yeah, that one and really the just the hard hitting Julia and Tam Nakano match. I thought that was just fantastic. Like in the SE, I don't know if either one of you guys are in the SEL Facebook group, but a guy named Evil Evan posted they had watched the hair versus hair match. And I jizzed all over. I was like, man, it's fantastic, right? So like I think that match was probably
Evil Evan liked it.
match. He loved it. He loved it. But
excellent news.
he is also a fellow Instagram follower of Tam Nakano as myself. You know what I mean? So
As all should be.
Look, there is nothing wrong with looking at hot women and appreciating the woman form.
I didn't say anything against that.
There are okay, you'd be surprised. You go on Twitter and compliment women. Oh my god, the outrage.
That's what the block button's for.
The outrage of getting a boner in 2021.
Yeah, you're not allowed. That's cancelable. But no, those two matches are the two that stood out. Other than that, I can definitely say that there wasn't a match on here that I didn't like. You know, I thought they were all I even watched the pre-log matches. I thought they were more than good. I really don't have anything bad to say about it, which is a first for me. You know, like
that's excellent. Really that is excellent to hear.
It's a very good show, and I'm excited to actually like. Will I watch it every month, or I don't even know Stardom's schedule. Will I watch it every month? I don't know. Maybe
they kind of have a big like. If you compare it to kind of New Japan's schedule and the way they go about it, you know, they got the New Japan Cup, they got the G1. There's a big show in the summer. There's a big show at the year end. Stardom is very much just like that. They got the Cinderella, which is the New Japan Cup that happens pretty soon. They run basically a Cork and Hall or some big show once a month. You don't need to watch all the house shows, although if you watch builds, they help. They have the 5-star, which is kind of right next to the G1, which is a 2-block tournament. It's very similar. So if you
have a tag league too.
And plus there's a tag league, yeah.
No, you're cut off putting me with the word tag league because like I'm a New Japan boy. I know what tag league means. Tag league means don't watch this.
Yeah, it's kind of the same with Stardom, maybe a little bit. You know, they just come out of the.
Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes you just follow one team. You just pick one team, usually the one your favorite wrestler on it, and that's all you watch. That's
Like,
great.
you know what? I'm not gonna lie. Tag league has always been that time where it's like, okay, G1's over. I've been watching New Japan 3 times a week now for the last feels like 16 weeks. Tag league has started. Now it's my time to take a break until Wrestle Kingdom, and that's what tag league means to me. It's a break.
You are not alone in that. And
I watched it G1 last year. I tried to watch it last year. Never ever again. Not like
the New Japan Tag League? No, man, it's not.
Not
No,
Tag
he
League,
was the G1. He got so burned
G1.
out.
I hated wrestling. I almost hated wrestling for a week.
I can see that.
Too
Dude.
much.
I never watch everything. You know what I mean? Like I don't watch those whole shows. I don't watch the tag matches. I can't do it. It's too much.
I think
Way
I said
too
that to the
much.
effect of, how the fuck do they expect people to keep coming back and watching this every fucking week? There's like 12 matches.
You're
every
not supposed
show.
to. That's the thing.
People pay money to go see these matches. How do these people pay money to sit down in a seat twice a week, 4 times a week? Like, how do you do this? It's not sustainable. It can't be, right? Crazy.
The overall presentation of the show, how did it look and come across to you?
I thought it looked like a New Japan show, and that's my standard. It looked like a New Japan show, so I got nothing bad to say. I like the dark, dingy Japanese wrestling vibe, except for, if I'm not mistaken, either Dragon Gate or All Japan that has the matches in front of that stained glass window.
That's Dragon Gate.
That is the best venue for wrestling, in my opinion, in the world.
Yeah, I love it when they run shows there. Yeah, that's kind
If I
of
were
that's
to build
part
a
of Dragon
WrestleMania-
Gate's kind of home territory too.
That's okay. So if I was to have a WrestleMania for the Federation, it would take place there.
KBS Hall. That's good. That's a good place. I love that place. It always looks good.
Yeah, but
It's
like
super
Japanese
unique.
in general, this stayed up with my expectations to a presentation on a show in Japan. So I got no faults to say about it whatsoever.
You mentioned gravitating towards Julia and Konami. Did anyone else get you to gravitate towards or against?
Utami, I feel like I'm butchering this name. Utami Hashishita.
Hayashishita. You could say.
We
You
all
could just
just
say
say
Utami.
Utami.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll say just Utami. Her last name is crazy.
Utami, I immediately thought when I seen her, I was like, oh, I bet you she was like with Io Shirai, right? Because like as soon as I seen like the mask, I was like, oh, it's Io's mask and like that whole group's mask, whatever.
Part
it
of
is,
the same group, Queen's
Yeah,
Quest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Momo has one. Azumi has one.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have
Or
one.
or today's day and age, Drake Younger's weird hand signal for some white supremacist stuff that I've heard on the
Oh
internet.
no.
Oh my god, is that what that is? Oh no.
Oh no.
I've done that pose in public once.
I'm wearing a Queen's Quest shirt right now. Now I feel dirty.
Take it off, burn it, take it off.
Either way, I think she looks like a full package star. She seems like she's a tough DOB. She's a daughter of a bitch. You know what I mean? Just like
There you go.
Yeah.
That's a description.
She just seems like she'd kick your ass 6 ways a Sunday, and I liked it. I liked it, as well as the Sayak Kamitani. I thought she was very good as well, and that whole match, that was probably my second favorite match of the show.
Okay.
I thought the last 2 main events were great. Now, my only person that I didn't like at all, and this is personal
That's
preference,
fine.
because I also feel this way about Riho sometimes.
Can I take a
but-
guess?
Oh, you know it. Who is it?
Is it Saki Kashima?
Yes.
Yes.
How anybody could believe that a little lady of that size could opposingly beat down anybody is beyond my mind. Now, her partner, on the other hand, she's got a decent look. I'm a fan of her look. I mean, like, it's the only match I've ever seen of her, but I think like I'm a fan of her.
Yeah,
Not so much
her partner is my least favorite.
You just got heat with JD here because you like Nascatora, and heat with JPQ because you don't like Saki Kashima.
Well,
as long as you don't say anything bad about Momo, we're cool. Okay, I just want to know that.
I thought Momo was fine. I'd heard about Momo's the first match I've ever seen of her. I thought that her opponent hindered her, and to know that she's a colossal see you next Tuesday is a nice thing.
I love that you noticed that. Everyone's noticed that because she didn't sell for her because she's old guard, don't do shit, and she was gassed like 3 minutes in.
Oh yeah, she Aja Kong'd herself for sure.
Oh, she got gas on the entrance. I swear to God. It's like, you were Denai Takahashi, hang it up. Just hang it up. Just go away. Okay, just hang it up.
Yeah, you and your Backstreet Boy haircut.
Oh God.
Let's talk about that match right now then. Nene versus Momo.
Watch me, Nene.
We pronounce it's Nanai, but we pronounce it Nene.
I hate Nanai Takahashi. Hey Nanai, did you know how to sell in a match? No, I didn't think so. Do you know how to have a match? A good match? No, didn't think so. Hey, can you hit your lariat that doesn't look weak like a noodle? Oh, didn't think so. Can you get up for a suplex? Oh, look, can't do that either. Looks like you're just gonna have to hang it up there. Even Aja Kong can still hit her fucking moves, and she's older than her. It's wrestled longer, has more mileage.
A much harder style too, but
right. Nanai sucks, and she beat my favorite wrestler, so that makes me even more angry because she sniffed
now you got
my favorite
wrestler.
I hope the rumor of Yoshiko potentially signing with Stardom and just abandoning Nanai and then just casting her to the wind. I hope that's true because Nanai deserves all of the worst things.
Yeah, there's a big announcement Yoshiko is going to make that will impact her career, I believe is the phrase used.
That's
so
a career decision.
That could mean realistically anything from retiring to injury to signing with Stardom.
Retiring
and anything in
with
between. It's pretty wild. It would bring us joy to see and hear all the big Nene fans that her prized pupil has ditched her with the sense of big stage.
They exist.
Yeah.
Nai Takahashi was lucky she was even on this show. She didn't deserve to be on Budokan ever.
So this was like Nene was there because Rossi wanted to celebrate Stardom's past. You know, you saw that in the Battle Royal with a lot of the legends, a lot of Stardom's past wrestlers, and their current wrestlers. It was a Battle Royal of just fun shenanigans, right? And some Japanese humor mixed in there. So if you're a Western fan, maybe the Kikutaro, Chigusa Nagayo boob grabbing and running around like schoolgirls, maybe you weren't a fan of that. I personally laughed and thought it was utterly ridiculous. And seeing 15 women put the boots to that scrub, I got a kick out of it.
I love Kukutaro. I love Kukutaro. One of the greatest wrestling DVDs of all time was Wrestling Road Diaries with Colt Cabana, Luke Gallows, and Kukutaro.
Oh my god!
It's the greatest thing.
It's the greatest
thing ever produced. It's the greatest thing ever produced for television. I vehemently think everybody should watch it. I have a DVD copy of it signed by Colt Cabana downstairs.
Good God!
But with that being said, I laughed as well at the boob grabbing, especially at the female Ultimate Warrior. I thought that was absolutely hilarious.
Oh, Kyoko Inoue?
Tokyo.
Yeah. Sorry for being ignorant with that one. She feels like she's very popular. Good. She feels like
she was very popular.
Yeah,
she was in the 90s, yes.
Yeah. Well, it's like that one girl. I don't know what her name was at all. But like, so I'm just like that one really tiny Riho looking girl. Just everybody, right? Like, we're like,
I mean, you got to be a little bit more specific.
Exactly,
well, that's the problem, right?
Right? Exactly. But like, I seen the date of birth and it was like 1966, and I was like, what the fuck?
My God, I think I know who he's talking about. He's talking about Shouto chick.
Oh, okay.
On her name.
Yeah.
He's talking about Shouto. Yeah, no, her gimmick was that she would shout in the corner, and the crowd would yell with her.
Oh, okay.
Well, she kept trying to go to the corner and do it, and the spot kept being denied because that was the joke.
Now, she was that bush-looking one, right?
That's Chigusa. Is she in red?
Okay.
The one in red?
I can't.
The one that was like
now.
4 times the size of everyone else.
Well, like
One in all red.
Either way,
on red.
Either way, it's a marvel at some of the, like, there's some of them that look like they're very old, and then there's some of them that's just like, wow, I wouldn't have pegged you for more than 25, yet you're 40. Fair enough.
The big one you're talking about, the big one in red, that's the most legendary women's wrestler on the planet, Chikusa Nagayo.
Really?
Yeah.
She single-handedly had so much pull that because she was super popular in AJW. She was probably the biggest star they'd ever created.
She's the biggest women's wrestling star that's ever existed.
Yes, like when she left AJW because of their stupid retirement rule, she founded her own promotion by herself, and it outsold that the promotion. and when it closed down, it was still more profitable than AJW, who went in debt and went bankrupt. She is such a big deal that her just stopping a guy trying to hit like a domestic dispute in a parking garage, her just stopping that made front page news and was all over the news in Japan. She's a celebrity. She's like a Noki. She's at a Noki level.
Okay.
I mean, in terms of women's wrestling, yes.
In terms of women's wrestling, in terms of celebrity, she's probably like maybe a step down below Noki, like one step down. She's known a lot by a lot of people.
There's rumors that Inoki got prisoners from North Korea off. Like, come on now.
Right, yeah.
Not that kind. Listen, not that kind. Listen.
Inoki ran a wrestling show in, like, Iraq to try to solve world peace or some shit. Like,
yes.
What? I didn't know about that. What the fuck?
You didn't?
Oh, yeah.
Didn't? Oh, Inoki's got some pull, bro.
Dude, Inoki stories are utterly insane. Okay, you still haven't seen like the island death match where like shit's on fire and there's helicopters and boats.
We need to see this. You keep telling me.
And there's multiple ones.
Fantastic.
Like people will complain about a fucking firework going dud. There is some shit out there.
Oh.
All right. So I have some thoughts over the Nene Takahashi Momo match. Look, it's not the best match in the world. If I'm to put like a star rating on it, I gave it like 2 3/4. It's the same old shit story that we've seen over and over again. Old guard comes in against young up-and-coming star, has to prove themselves against the old guard. No sells their shit because it doesn't actually hurt. They eventually sell a little bit. And because they're old, they fucking stink in the ring. They can't hang anymore. Thank God this was in the after the rumble, so it didn't get up the card. She's gassed half the time. She can't do half the moves. Nothing has impact anymore. We just watched the mighty Gammy from Pro Wrestling Wave do the same shit to an up and coming star in 2010. It's the same story here. And Nene beats Momo. It can go kick rocks. The crowd was totally dead. No reaction to this woman. And nor should they, because they don't know who she is, which kind of is a testament to what a star she isn't.
That she thinks she is?
That she thinks she is. And it would not shock me if Rossi never brings her back, and this was just a one-off to celebrate the past. And I'd be totally okay with that, because this story can go kick rocks. I hated this match.
Right.
I hated what it stood for. And it's the only, like, how many times do we have to see this story play out? And it's never any different. The only time it's different is when there's Emi Sakura involved and Aja Kong.
Right. It speaks volumes that whenever she went to go for a clap deny, that is, the crowd gave her nothing. Her little corner of people from Seedling Seconds trying to get a chant going for her, right? A chant you can clap to, nothing. Momo gets claps, everybody's clapping.
Right. These new Stardom stars, right? These new Stardom fans don't know who Nene is. They know who Momo is. They're there for Momo Watanabe, and to see their Stardom wrestler lose to this old outsider. You want to talk about a psychology piece and a historical piece That's what we do on the Patreon with these Joshi wrestling matches. This is the representation of what's been wrong with the scene for 2 decades.
Yeah, I mean, it encapsulated one moment. Except actually, you know what? I'll take that back, because at least some of those people in the old guard got reactions.
Yeah, right. At least they could actually sell tickets. So,
the problem with Anaya is she thinks because she knew these people, this old guard, and helped put her up, that she's one of them. She's got it in her head. She is so irrelevant that literally, when the build was happening, people were asking who she is.
Mm-hmm.
It was so bad. This was supposed to be this match was supposed to go on after Konami and Shuri. That was the original card order. They moved it down because it had no heat. Everyone knows who Momo is. Nobody knew or cared, which is even more important, because a lot of them said they don't want to know who she is because she doesn't look impressive. She doesn't look impressive. They got mad at her because she was flippant when Momo was challenging her. You know, her facial expressions, like the oh whatever bitch expression, that got heat with the Stardom fans.
I mean, that's kind of what it's supposed to do, but
she's not taking this seriously, so why should I?
Right. It didn't garner the right kind of heat, which is
right, because they were like
X-Pac heat. Very apt comparison.
Except Japan, X-Pac heat is silence.
Yeah.
And silence is worse than booze.
Yeah, no, because it's a definite difference between the Japanese and American audiences for sure. But man, when the Japanese audience is excited, American audiences can barely keep up. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, right.
It's fantastic.
Hey, fairy stuff. Oh, you'll know because you'll get crickets if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of evil to an extent these days. But I just want to mention a couple people from the Rumble match that I was happy to see, and you get the feeling they could step in a ring tomorrow full time and they'd be totally fine. It was great seeing Yoko Bito back. When I first got into Stardom, she was my favorite wrestler, so that was cool seeing her. Yuzupon is still a fucking megastar, even in a Rumble, along with Chigusa Nagayo. She was pulling off all her moves. Fucking, Momoe Nakanishi. She was pulling out.
Yeah, Momoe.
Yeah, Momoe. Yeah. She was pulling out fucking running moonsaults off the top like it was 2012. So I have 2 things on the Rumble that I liked. I'm with you on Yoko Bito. When I got into Stardom, she had retired, but I didn't know because I was still going through the back catalogs, and Stardom shop at the time still had her t-shirts and merch up for sale. So I went back and had watched her stuff, and I fell in love with her. Like, I fell in love with her just as hard as I did with Momo. I was like, oh my god, this is like one of my favorite wrestlers. She's awesome. Right? And then I found out she retired. I was so crestfallen. I was so upset, right? When I heard her music, I'm not gonna lie, I teared up a little. It's the first time I've seen Yoko Bito wrestle, not from the archives. And I was so happy. I was over the moon. I'm like, oh my god, it's Yoko Bito. I teared up too when I found out Ayumi Kurihara on our journey is married to Yoshihashi. That also brought me to tears.
Or Io is banging Evil.
Yeah, that also brought me to tears.
That's a shame too.
Yeah, nobody wants to get filled with evil. That's never good.
That's a way to phrase it.
The man with all the gimmicks.
And kudos to the one guy on commentary who lost his ever-loving mind when he heard Mima Shimoda's music. That man must love himself Shimoda because he flipped his shit when her music hit. He was yelling. He blew the mic out. He was yelling. And then she gets knocked out almost immediately.
Yeah, wrestling star, bringer of chairs for Jay White.
Sounds about right for Shimoda because her back is fucked.
Yeah, she's doing rough times.
Her taking bumps was not going to happen.
Shuri Konami. Shuri defeats Konami in 8 minutes. I thought it was fine. Mayu Utani defeats Yoshiko in 15 minutes. I thought Yoshiko was actually kind of bad in this match. She has clearly lost a lot of weight in a very short period of time. She was swimming in them clothes. She had moments of being pretty good in the ring, but ultimately her stamina was just against her in this match. Her knees were just buckling out from underneath her all the time. Very, very shame. I thought Mayu Iwatani was excellent in this match, so much so that it really hid Yoshiko, I thought, quite well enough where the match is garnered as pretty damn good. I was just very much worried for the state of Yoshiko, and now with her announcement saying this, now I'm worried that she's sickly. Which
yeah, she didn't look good. The Japanese fans noticed it too, that she lost, because you look at the video package, and the stuff in that video package was just from 2 months ago.
Yeah.
What?
Right? Yeah, that was 2 months ago.
Oh, wow.
She's lost so much weight. I really hope she's okay. I really do. I hope it's just her wanting to lose weight, maybe because she's gonna sign with Stardom and she wants to look a little bit better. I really hope that she's not got some kind of cancer or some kind of sickness. I'd feel really shitty because, as we've said before, she's dealt with so much already, and it's like she was just starting to get things together finally.
Right,
she had
Path
a
of
run with the
Redemption.
title.
She's finally, yeah.
She's the champion. It took the not getting hurt and being out for a whole year for her to even get the belt, let alone sniff it beforehand. But she had a run. She had some good matches that I liked with that title, and I would really hope that she's okay. Because you're right, the stamina was a problem. Now, if she intentionally lost this weight, the stamina will come back, right?
Oh, yeah,
work at
sure,
this
absolutely.
weight, you'll get the stamina back. It's not much of a concern. I just really hope she's okay.
Yeah. I hope the speculation in my head is very much incorrect, and I hope I'm just overreacting to someone wanting to look good for a big show.
Yeah, I'm Sam with you there.
Yeah.
I feel bad for shitting on her.
No.
No, you shouldn't feel bad. You didn't have the information. I was there at one point. I'm pretty sure JD was there. We were all there.
Oh,
at one
yeah,
point
we
when
were
you're
all
fed
there at some point.
When you're
yeah.
fed the surface information, you feel a certain way, and you're right to feel that way with what you're given. But when you go deeper, like, God, you could write a book on sort of just the shit she had to deal with because of Nanai and her association with her.
That's the problem with some of these documentaries and videos like Woke Culture put out, where they tell these complex stories in like 2 minutes with surface value, doing it. It really does more damage than good, which is very.
They didn't even tell a
unfortunate.
story in that video. They just she punched her because she didn't
Yeah,
like
she
her.
shot on her.
That's
There's some
pretty much
videos.
Walt culture is garbage.
Yeah, it's
They're the shit.
no
They're
bueno.
Shit.
Just for other context of the scene at the time and in the early 2000s, let's just say that the pictures of post matches in that era might bring a little bit more perspective on people shooting on each other. Just throw that out there.
Yeah, especially with certain people in certain promotions and certain people who don't like each other.
Yeah.
It's
Unfortunately, it was very much too commonplace.
yeah,
Very dark
it's a
times,
bit.
as we've
Yeah,
said.
not good times.
World of Stardom title match, Utami Hayashishita defeats Saya Kamitani, a combined, I think, 4.5 years experience in
Like,
the.
that's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Like-
nuts.
I read that and I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Like, this is wild." Like, I watch Japanese wrestling in general. I know that they can pump out stars like nobody's business, but this is wild.
Build was a little bit weak. I had my reservations with how they booked Saya Kamitani coming into the match. I gave him the benefit of the doubt in early February. They kind of failed me, but ultimately, none of that's going to be remembered. None of that matters. They went out there. They absolutely killed it. Saya Kamitani's hitting tope con hilos. She's hitting Phoenix splashes, or missing in this case in the match. Had a phenomenal near fall that
She hit a Canadian destroyer. You
she
forgot
hit a
the
fucking Canadian destroyer.
I fell off my couch. I popped so hard for that. I was like, oh my gosh, she hit a. I tweeted about it. I tweeted immediately. She hit a freaking Canadian destroyer. It's so awesome.
So there you go.
Come on,
Tyler
mark for that
Fudge, what'd
move.
you think of this match?
Oh, it was like I said, it's my second favorite match of the night. So, I
There you
mean,
go.
take with it what you will. Especially when you take the fact that these two have such a little experience, it's always a bright thing to see. Hell, I gave Ronda Rousey a chance. I was one of those guys who was like, wait, guys, she might learn, though. She might. And she didn't. So,
She wasn't there to learn. She was just there to perform.
make money. Yes. But yeah, no, I think that there's a hell of a lot of real, possibilities with these two, and sky's the limit, it seems. And if handled correctly, I think they could. From the little bit I've seen of them, I think they could be pretty fucking good.
I'll keep my thoughts brief on it because I want to gush more about the main event a little bit.
Sure.
I was agree with we were both in agreement, JD, on the build and not being good, and I think I remember saying that if the match is good, that it's all irrelevant, right? If Kamatani goes out there and she performs at a level that blows the build away, I'll believe her as a main eventer. She delivered so well that I don't think I even need to question it anymore. She outperformed herself to a level that I didn't even expect. That's all I'll say on it. She did great. Her Tommy looks good, so that's no shock there.
Utami handed the rose to Akira Hokuto before the match, and it looks like Akira Hokuto was smitten with Utami. Who could blame her?
I popped for that. So hard. When she was walking around with the rose, I was like, she's not going to hand it to anybody. She's going to hand it to Hokuto. Hokuto's right there. She's going to hand it to Hokuto. She handed it to Hokuto. Oh, she handed it to Hokuto. I was so happy.
And then Wonder of Stardom title match, the white belt, hair versus hair, big video package beforehand, building up all the famous hair matches in women's wrestling history. Dump Matsumoto, Chigusa Nagayo, Shimoda, Toyota. What you got?
Oh, no, they only played the one for the Chigusa.
I thought I saw the Shimoda one.
No, they only played the clips from the Dump Chigusa, the first Dump Chigusa. And I made a note of that because that's the important one to play. That's the big one. That's the one that made Chigusa a fucking megastar. I think they did that intentionally. That's the only one they played. That's the first hair versus hair match that most people in Japan even know of. It's like the big one, the big deal, the one that's kind of known. Because it was the very first major one. That's the only one they played. They didn't play the Shimoda one.
Big Dave Meltzer went into this match cold as ice, not knowing much of the story or the wrestler's history at all, and he gave this 4.5 stars. I think that's major praise for someone not invested in the promotion. Just from a little perspective there. Tyler, what'd you think?
I thought that I did know a little bit of the story going into it because, like I said, I had only seen Tam Nakano on Instagram. I was like, I had to figure out what the hell was up with this lady being in the main event because I just didn't expect it. So I looked it up, and so if I'm not wrong, Tam Nakano's tried to beat Julia on many occasions and has never been able to beat her. And now it's more about beating Julia than winning the white title.
Yes, you are correct.
There's also another story there where Arisa Hoshiki retired with the white belt, and Julia won the Cinderella tournament to win that title, and that kind of spurred on, I will take the title from you, and she wasn't able to do it. So that's
basically
another layer.
Like saying that she's undeserving kind of deal because she didn't actually beat somebody for the title.
No. So the thing with the Arisa was a promise between people that started off as enemies and became friends. Her, Tam and Arisa. So Arisa retired last year, neck and back problems. She was the white belt champion before Julia. She had to vacate the belt. Julia ended up winning it in a match against Tam of all people. Right, a not good match. That one wasn't very good. But the story in this one is twofold. It's the Tam Julia one that you're aware of, and then it's Tam keeping her promise to the friend that isn't wrestling anymore and has distanced herself from wrestling because of her health.
Again, chef's kiss.
Very good storytelling. Not to mention the match storytelling.
Oh! Can I mention some of the spots here?
Yeah, go away. The layers upon layers along with the rivalry. Go for it.
So this match had so many good callbacks. This match, I think, channeled AJW more than anything else in this card. And a lot of it, this whole show channeled AJW, like as it should have. There were 3 big spots of note. One, there was that finger center screwdriver thing. That was crazy, right? That was a good spot. Everyone popped for it. Spots that I popped for was Julia taking Tam to the guardrail in front of Akira Hokuto. Legend, regarded as one of the best women's, one of the goats, right, of all time. Beating Tam in front of her while kind of sort of mocking her a little bit, right? And then the best part, the table spot, right? So they set the table up right in front of Akira Hokuto in the same position that mirrored the famous Akira Hokuto Manami Toyota match from AJW Destiny in '95 in Budokan. Right? They hit the same spot too. Right? Tam hits the was it Tam? Yeah, it was Tam that hit the pile driver on it, right?
No, it was Julia that hit the pile driver on Tam.
Right, okay. Right, okay.
Yeah. You're talking the table spot, right? Table spot, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah. So Julia hits Tam with the table spot, and the same move, the table breaks this time because it doesn't break in the Manami Toyota Hokuto match. Because go figure, right? The table breaks right in front of Hokuto. I lost my shit. But the big one, the one that made me really lose my shit, was the post match. Right? So one of my favorite matches of all time, is Manami Toyota versus Tosha Yamada, hair versus hair. Because that rivalry was built up much in the same way this one was, right? You can't beat each other. Neither of us can actually get a definitive win over the other. Though this one was more Tam can't get a definitive win over, right? But kind of a similar build, right? So the only way you could do this is to put our pride, our womanhood on the line. There has to be a winner in this match. In that match, Manami Toyota beats Yamada. She can't cut her hair. She gets up in there and she cries. She freaks out when they try to cut her hair, and they have a bunch of ring seconds that to hold her down. And Yamada, with the most stoic look, starts berating her. When Tam walks over and can't cut her hair and starts crying, I'm like, they're doing a Manami Toyota Yamada spot. And then when Julia, in her own character, because she's not the stoic type, right? She's the mocking, cocky type, starts getting this cocky sort of attitude to her and laughing a little bit and mocking and berating Tam for not being able to do it. I lost my mind. I was like, they are referencing two of my favorite matches of all time. This one match. This match is perfect. It broke my scale, much like Suzu and Tsukasa did, but I think this match is perfect. Perfect in every way. Perfect.
I would like to point out the way they were able to string together moves really told a great in-ring story. It's not the level of perfect in-ring work, but I feel the level of storytelling and callbacks and historical sense more than made up for that. I really enjoyed the guardrail spot in front of Rossi, the Booker man, where she
that one too, right?
She took his table to put it over, and then moved that over to do the Hokuto spot. Thought that was a nice little touch.
People evolved in AJW at that same time,
right? And my favorite moment of the match that really took it over the edge, because this was already getting in the upper echelon of high end matches, was the moment where they're hitting each other, slapping hard, Yuji Nagata, Minoru Suzuki style. The crowd were really, clapping as best they could. It kind of had that opposite effect, where instead of people screaming up to the rafters, they go death silent just so they can hear. And it's one of those where you're so fixated on what's happening. And they were stiff. You see their mouths are bleeding. The cheeks are getting swollen. Julia puts her hands behind her back, saying, "Give me your best shot." That led more into the Steiner screwdriver, which, Jesus Christ. Like, that was the last time you saw one of those.
So good. The crowd popped for it, too, because they recognized it immediately. It was so good.
We didn't even mention the Saya Kamitani Hayabusa tributes and shit she was pulling off there. Just throw that out there. Listen to Tyler Fudge's Triple Hayabusa feature there over at Federation.
Hayabusa, what a man.
What a man. So a lot of historical context, hard hitting. Hokuto on commentary was saying during the Utami match and during this one that this is why she, if she was in this era, she would love to wrestle under these conditions rather than what she went through during AJW. Less than stellar times. They can concentrate on wrestling, which is great to see. That's what she was saying. And then she was saying they're really laying it in. Just really, really good commentary from Hokuto there. Really brings perspective on just how the match was coming across to a legend like her. Because she's not a commentator. She's not there to embellish things like you would kind of in Western wrestling, where they say, "This is the greatest match of all time. We're seeing history." She was just like, they're hitting really hard and stiff. Interesting.
They had her there intentionally.
Oh, yeah.
Spots they did in that match, it was intentional why they had her on commentary for that one especially. I like the note what she had said when she had specifically said, this generation will be better than my generation because they can focus on the wrestling.
Yes. That was
what she references is the backstage politics that were in her era, the backstage competition being a lot more dog eat dog, but out of their control. Pretty much, you like her case is the perfect example. You get hurt because you got hurt a lot, your spot gets taken because you're not making the decision on how good you are. The booker is, and well, you're hurt, you can't make money, so and so is taking your spot. And if you come back too late, well, then you don't have a spot to take back or even attempt to. And that was a lot of her era. So her saying,
"Fuck, man, we just watched her blow out her knee in a tournament, and she was back like 3 days later."
Yeah, and you can tell she should not be on that knee. But it's her saying that, I felt like has so much weight because it's specifically her. Like Manami said it or Chigusa said it. It's like, okay, it's nice flowery words, even if it does have weight to it. Akira Hokuto, whose career was defined by setbacks,
saying injuries,
something like that, saying something like that means a whole lot for the scene and a whole lot for Stardom in general, I think.
Yeah, what a match. What a way to end the show, eh?
Yeah, they're AJW. Stardom is AJW. National TV deal. Wrestled in Budokan. Wrestles Korakuen twice a month like AJW did. I mean, they're doing stuff that wasn't done since AJW, so they're just fucking AJW. They've got commercial spots. They've got a comic book. They announced it at Budokan. They announced a comic book about these wrestlers. You know who else had a comic
manga?
Book? Okay, listen, I get it. Listen. I read the mangas and watch the animes too. But the fact that they have a manga serialization of all things, even if it's kind of a small little 4-coma comedy
that'll get more popular with more kids. That one of their goals is to increase different fan bases other than the kind of 90% male that's been an issue for many years. Yeah, they want to do more.
Crush Cows had one. Crush Cows had a manga, a small one, but they had a manga. Yeah. So just pulling Crush Cow stuff, maybe some JWP with Takako Inoue's comic. Manga.
Well, Tyler, I'm really glad you enjoyed the show, and you kind of enlighten us, and it's very interesting to see what matches you gravitated towards, who you gravitated towards. It's very interesting. I hope you kind of also learned a lot through listening to this and being on this with us.
Well, what I did learn was that don't judge a book by its cover. I learned that, and then I learned that I've got a lot of required listening to do.
So my podcast, the Big Egg Joshi podcast, I go over my first season of stuff is a bunch of promotions that I talk about, sort of breaking them down, their history, some of their notable wrestlers. The one on AJW, it's an hour long.
Not bad.
Want to check that out?
I'm always down to learn. I'm always down to learn. Learning is cool.
It's got one on Stardom too. I think it's about the same length. So there you go.
All right. That was a special episode of the Red Leaf Retrocast. Part 1, obviously, we've gone quite a long time for this one of just AEW Revolution and Stardom All-Star Dream Slam. Part 2 will come out probably around March 15th. That's our usual one. And then we'll do our wrestler rankings. As usual, that's on the Patreon, $1.50 audio there. Tyler, thanks for joining.
Yes. Oh, anytime.
Give me your plugs, man.
My plugs is that you can follow me on Twitter, the Fudderation. You can follow, Suplex City Limits. Suplex City Limits I think there's no S in Limits. I don't run that Twitter handle, so I don't really know. But at the same time, today actually we just released our Kenta double feature. Actually, sticking it to the Eastern Hemisphere. We watch his match with Bryan Danielson, ROH, and a match against Marufuji and Noah.
Very much looking forward to listening to that one myself.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I will give you a listen. I didn't, to be fair, I'm not very big up on the wrestling podcast, so...
Hey, don't worry about it.
Guys, listen, definitely. You seem like a cool, swell dude, and like your humor, like your style.
I will give a shout-out to the Federation's TNA episodes. I've been binge listening to a lot of them. I was also a fan during that era. really bringing back a lot of bad memories, especially the Jeff Jarrett shit.
I had a lot of it forgotten, and I looked at it
for
with,
the best.
It's like most everything, you know what I mean? People look back at the Attitude Era. Unfortunately, we did a deep dive into Attitude Era. It took us like 2 years to do it, but we did it, and it's garbage. There are portions. There's portions that are good, but most of it's garbage. TNA at the same time, definitely rose-colored glasses, because while there are high spots mainly within the X division, everything else is pretty meandering.
Oh, it's the most garbage television I can remember watching, next to Nitro.
Yeah.
in the bad years.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
I grew up with the
pretty
Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression stuff, and I have not gone back, and I don't think I want to go back.
The Austin Brett feud is still marvelous. There are still big bright spots. The whole rise of Stone Cold is somewhat fascinating, in my opinion. And the fact,
the oddities. I remember stuff like the oddities. So
See,
I remember the names and the looks.
That's
and
what
I'm
you
like, I don't
remember?
want to go back.
that's crazy.
That's the bad stuff I remember. That's the stuff I remember being like, oh, that's not funny. It's got South Park, but that's fine. That's why I don't want to go back, because like I kind of don't hate it, but I feel like if I go back, I'm gonna fucking hate all of it.
You're low key a juggalo. That's why. That's why.
No, don't you put that on me.
I will say this. This is I will, just because you got me on a tangent of the Attitude, and I didn't watch it for 2 years. Again, to not brag about it. The fact that Bret Hart has always been, like, whether or not you believe like the whole Montreal Screwjob, Bret Hart has they've always been like, he wouldn't put over Shawn Michaels, he wouldn't do it. They had Bret Hart build a star that year. They just didn't know they had him, and it was Stone Cold Steve Austin. And that whole rise from beating Stone Cold in WrestleMania, that whole rise from there on, they just didn't realize, they couldn't see the forest from the trees, that Stone Cold was just going to usurp Shawn Michaels in a matter of months. Right? So like it's a fantastic rise to see where Stone Cold starts as the ringmaster and then comes back all around. But that story is not in the TNA arc at all. You know what I mean? Like, there isn't a story like that. The only real story is like how the X Division shone. But it's still a good story to listen to, so give it a listen.
Or Jeff Jarrett making Monty Brown his bitch so he wouldn't go over.
I wanted Monty Brown to be Monty Brown or Henry O. Godwin, because if there's anybody that is a proponent of Henry O. Godwin, it's me.
Hit him with the pounds.
Yeah, Monty Brown is a fucking period.
Well, everyone should go listen to the Fudderation, or else you will get hit with the pounds. Period.
This is my Serengeti.
Red Leaf Retrocast, part 1. Look forward to part 2 much later. Tyler, thanks for coming on. See you next time,
Thanks,
everybody.
Thanks, man. See ya.